This is why even my own fan base doesn't follow me on this one, but like I truly do believe that if you were to do like a side-by-side of like Hasan's anti-Semitic statements versus Nick Fuentes's over the past year or two, I think you would have way more like inarguable ones from Hasan than from Nick.
Oh wait, sorry, pause. We have something here. Hasan used the same term for white Republicans.
Yes, that's what.
Oh no! Because that's also, we don't view it the same. That's like the worst example that you could go to. Would he ever use it for black Republicans? Because that's a slur as well for trailer trash. I started to realize that the way that I conceptualize anti-Semitism, the way that I talk about this, I would never, ever, 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 ever make all these same considerations for any other group of people. Like I would just say like, oh no, this is probably racist, this is probably homophobic. It would just be that simple.
Do you have a view about whether he has the conscious hatred of Jews, or would you characterize it as hatred based on what you've seen?
I would characterize it as a hatred of sorts. I don't have a view on whether it's like a conscious sort of hatred, like Jews. Yeah, it could be subconscious. Like it could be a subconscious sort of hatred. But the way, from what I've seen of him, it is not normal for people to talk the way he has talked about Jewish people without some sort of hatred. At minimum prejudice, probably hatred.
Okay.
Now, is that conscious? Is he aware of this? Like, is he aware of, like, no, sometimes you're not aware of your feelings. Like, sometimes you don't have a full grasp on articulating them. Sometimes it doesn't bring it. Fine. I don't really have a view on that part of it. But yeah, like and again, consistent standards. I think that when I'm going to show you, if you were to see a right winger doing this, talking about the same way with Somalians and Arabs, saying it in the same way, with the same vitriol, you would think the same, and you wouldn't buy the excuses. You wouldn't buy it like, oh well, I'm just talking about an ideology. It's just their ideology doing it. And when you do a full analysis on where they use it and where they don't, that doesn't work. It doesn't meet the muster. And you wouldn't believe that in any other context.
Okay, so my position is, I'm not convinced. Convince me.
Yep. Cool.
Did you catch the first half of this? No.
Oh, okay.
I won't make it like a 2v1. I'll I've been talking too much. I'll stay quiet for that.
All right. Well,
I don't mind.
Okay. I mean, it's quite a friendly 2v1 to be fair. I think Hasan is anti-Semitic by his own standards. That double genocide theory thing, Hasan repeats that ad nauseum. He habitually says that if you compare Stalin to Hitler or the Holodomor to the Holocaust, you are Holocaust denial, anti-Semitic. He believes that, yet he's happy to do that problematic comparison between Israel and the Holocaust and the Nazis. Doesn't make any sense. To the point that he said that anyone who even shows any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated as a rabid neo-Nazi. By his own internal logic, he's an anti-Semite. And also by the logic of a normal person for many reasons, but yeah.
Oh, there was somebody in chat with this. Sorry, because I did this in offline chat. I had an email that emailed me some of the stuff that they were thinking about, and I thought this was interesting. Part of his email, he said, another big eye-opener for me was just how similar the anti-Semitic beliefs are between the far left and the far right. If you replace the word Jew with Zionist, it's nearly 1-to-1. So on the left, we've got the white supremacist neo-Nazi version, and then on the right, you've got the extremist anti-Zionist version. So like the belief or theme would be Jewish or Zionist control. The Nazi version is Jews secretly control the U.S. government, Zog, and then the lefty view is Zionists secretly control U.S. foreign policy and the government. Belief or theme is Israel is puppet master. The Nazi version is Israel and Jews manipulate America for Jewish interests. Extremist anti-Zionist version is Israel and Jewish lobby controls America and gets Americans into wars. Jewish financial power, Jews control banks, corporations, finance, and exploit whites. Then the lefty version is Zionists and Jews control capitalism and corporations for profit and power. I hear that Adelson name brought up more than anything in terms of individual donors to Trump, but media control, Jews and Zionists control Hollywood news media. And then the lefty version is Zionists and Jewish interests control Western media narratives. I guess you could say through AIPAC. For war, Jews manipulate Western governments into wars benefiting Israel. And then on extremist lefty versions, Israel Zionists manipulate America into wars benefiting Israel. Jewish cabal controls the West. Zionist network controls Western institutions. And then some neo-Nazis portray Palestinians as another oppressed by Jews. And then Palestinians are portrayed as victims. There's like, yeah, I mean, it really does like map on 1-to-1. I feel like we've seen this before, but it's all good. Who cares? They're just Jews.
But I care about my notion of anti-Semitism. So,
But would you? But given if I could prove what I just said, would that mean that by his own logic he definitely is unavoidably?
if you could prove that by his own logic, that would show I think he's a hypocrite. It wouldn't show on my lights that he's anti-Semite. And what I care about,
You can never win this.
but yeah, I think that probably would be evidence on my credence. But I don't think by itself would. And just to be clear, I care about. And I think we all agree and have the same notion, or roughly the same notion of the definition of these terms. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So one more thing before we do it, because I know you wanted me to talk about like self-serving statements and stuff.
Yes.
Even though we touched. Yeah. So I'm also aware that Hasan
And
Piker has made
friendships.
all sorts of. Yeah, Hasan Piker has friendships with Jewish people. Hasan Piker has made self-serving statements. Hasan Piker has got up and been like, "Oh, I'm the real champion against anti-Semitism." And it's all sorts of like, sort of slop like that. The reason none of that is helpful is because, again, just like all sorts of evidence for Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism is deflated by the countervailing hypothesis of anti-Zionism, there's a countervailing hypothesis that very easily explains all of the exonerating evidence,
Plausible deniability.
which is self-serving behavior. What would be helpful, so that's all that stuff is not helpful. What would be helpful, and I'll give you an example, when it's not self-serving. If, as an example, if Hasan Piker right now were to stand up and be like, I condemn Anna Kasparian for her anti-Semitism. Like someone who he's close with, someone who would hurt him a bit. It would be tough for him to do that. Someone he has a good, close relationship with and is aligned politically with. If he were to condemn her anti-Semitism, that would be evidence. That would be helpful countervailing evidence for me. I would be like, maybe I should maybe that decreases my credence. Okay, that's the sort of evidence that would be
Not
helpful
Fuentes, and not like Trump. Not like these.
No, because that's self-serving again. Well,
Yeah,
because that's all self-serving. It's like very easily.
And Chad, does that make sense? I'm looking at you now. I hope that makes sense, because that's my intuition as well. That like, and I wanted to raise it because, of course, you're always going to find self-serving statements from Trump, and we've got to be consistent in terms of how we apply that as evidence. And I am not swayed by Trump's self-serving statements that he loves all Mexicans, he loves Muslims, love him, all that stuff. And so I hope
Obviously.
that makes sense, folks.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay. So I'm going to.
All right,
Share
we'll
my
watch the
screen.
stream too. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I want to know, like, can you hear it, and is it playing for
Yeah.
everything?
Let me know when it starts playing.
All right, starts playing now.
Yep.
It's been a failure for that to happen.
Bro, literally both options are hilarious. The ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern
Jesus.
Lebanon, again, very funny.
Jesus.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm totally on board with this. I think it's hilarious. Let them serve. Let them fight, dude. If they want the smoke. If they don't want to be conscientious objectors,
The smoke.
which some are, and that's valid, and I'm with them all the way. Okay. But get
For Orthodox
Okay. So a couple things. Let's before. So that was the clip. Let's understand the context of the clip. And if you ever need the full VOD, we're happy to go through the full VOD as well. So let's go step by step here. What's the group? The group is mentioned. It's not Orthodox. It's ultra Orthodox. The context. Do you know about this group, ultra Orthodox?
This group is that they are exempt from military service in under Israeli law. They are less secular than many Israelis, and that there's a big sort of like discourse about
They're less secular?
and vying for their
That's just a funny way to
political
phrase
power,
it.
oftentimes in coalition governments, and that they exist as a kind of a sect that is focused a lot on especially male rabbinical training. That's my understanding. It's pretty general.
Okay. So there's more. So that's true. Let's focus. Do you know anything about the ultra-Orthodox as it relates to potential countervailing hypotheses? Like, is this explained by Zionism? Is this explained by? Go ahead.
So that there's a more emphasis for Orthodox Jews and ultra-Orthodox Jews to like marry within a sect or marry within or have definitely
No.
like,
I'm asking like. So that's the they're insular, but that's not what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So I'm asking. Okay. So yeah, the point being here is that the ultra-Orthodox group, this is the group that is broadly non-Zionist.
They don't even want to be in the IDF. Yeah.
The clear majority of ultra-Orthodox group, this is a non-Zionist group. The clear majority of the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredim, identify as either non-Zionist or in a smaller minority of cases, anti-Zionist. They're broadly not a Zionist group. The context here is they are trying to resist conscription into the IDF.
Oh,
There's
it's
the legal
it's
fight.
the direct opposite kind of rationale that you would expect if someone who is
You would expect Hasan to
Zionist-
So
celebrate
Hasan should be
this.
supporting him. Oh, that's
You would
good.
expect Hasan to celebrate a group of non-Zionist Jews resisting Israel, resisting conscription into the IDF. You would expect him to simp for them.
Yep.
You would not expect him to call them inbred.
100%.
And
No. Yep.
next point is Hasan. Next point is this. Listen carefully.
Uh-oh.
let him serve. Let them fight, dude. If they want the smoke,
why?
if they don't want to be conscious.
Notice how
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
want the smoke is indexed to let them serve and not
They
whether
don't
they're
want the
inbred.
smoke.
But
Yeah.
also, they don't want. But also, listen to this.
conscientious objectors, which some are, and you know that's valid, and I'm with them all the way.
Called them conscientious
He knows
objectors.
this is the group where you would expect
Yeah,
conscientious
so he has
objectors
knowledge.
to come from.
But he still wants
He
them to serve.
knows. He knows, and yet he still wants them to. He still called them inbred. He can caveat with they want him to serve plausibly with saying, oh well, if they.
I don't like that use actually there. Avi might have a better understanding of me on this, but or maybe I was just letting this one slide. I don't like him calling them conscientious objectors. Some of them might be conscientious objectors because I'm pretty sure, like as a class, they fought against having to serve. It's not like, you know, there are some people in this group of people who don't want to be in the IDF. That was a thing that all of them got into a huge fight with the Israeli government over. It's not just a few of them, right? By want the smoke, what does he mean there? He means go to fight the epic heroes that are Hezbollah and get blown the fuck up by them because he is a supporter of terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, unironically.
They want the smoke, but like that wasn't indexed to whether they're inbred. He's still calling them inbred. So let's see what we have here, just to be clear on everything. This is a predominantly non-Zionist group. This is
fighting
the context.
against being,
They're fighting against Israel. They're fighting against the IDF conscription. They're trying not to serve. They're trying not to go into Lebanon. They're trying not to fight Arabs. And also, not a settler group either, by the way. They're not settlers. By and large, only 14% of ultra-Orthodox Jews are settlers. And by the way, in the small minority when they are, do you know why they're settlers? It's not like the dots
Green
in the
line?
movie. They're not ideological settlers. They're
it
settlers
like
because
economic?
they can't afford. Yeah, they can't afford to live anywhere
Right,
else.
So they live near the Green Line.
So
probably.
this is not a settler group, not a Zionist group,
Uh-oh.
fighting IDF conscription, and by the way, not an ethnic supremacist group either. Because notice he's not talking about the chief rabbi specifically. You could say, well,
Listen, I know this sounds extreme, and this is a 3% hyperbolic statement, okay? This is a 3% hyperbolic statement, all right? But sweeping for Hezbollah is the equivalent to sweeping for ISIS. Like, it's, if you know anything about how they started as an Iranian proxy that was taking over southern Lebanon with the goal to fight against Israel, like, it is. That's what Hezbollah is not. The fact that people just speak so openly about how, like, oh, Hezbollah is fighting and they're the real government in Lebanon is crazy. It's just, it's just crazy that Hasan says this and literally nobody cares because nobody knows or doesn't. Oh my God.
well, the chief rabbi specifically, he wasn't aware of this. He was made aware later in the stream. The chief rabbi specifically, said something bad about black people. He's not talking about the chief rabbi, and he wasn't even aware of it when he said this. He's talking about the ultra-Orthodox group.
Actually, maybe the Taliban would be a better. Well, no, actually, I wouldn't say the Taliban because wasn't the fuck? I actually don't know the history as much. The Taliban was basically the government of like all of for real, like Afghanistan. No, I feel like it's a little different. Like Hezbollah is more akin to ISIS. I think they're like a huge part of. For a while, it was Syria and Iraq, and then for Hezbollah, it's southern Lebanon, right?
Unless you want to take a Groiper argument, which the Groiper argument for why ultra-Orthodox is like, oh, because chosen people equals supremacist group. It's like, no, that's not how they interpret that. But
Okay, we have some chat objections.
Hezbollah also was far more, was far more like strategic. ISIS was legitimately fucking like this is like your actual like Islamic extremist, fucking lunatic, crazy people. That I don't know in the Muslim world. I don't think Al Qaeda was ever like this. I'm trying to think of what was ever around that was as fucking crazy as ISIS. Holy shit! Your videos, the HD. Those are the first time we got HD, high quality videos of people being fucking executed on the internet. I don't know if anything was ever. I'm sure there've been smaller, maybe super smaller things, but like, oh my God, Boko Haram. We don't talk about Africa here. I don't care. Just making sure I wasn't on the wrong continent.
I want your reaction. Is that okay?
Yep. Yeah.
He just said he supports the conscientious objectors. Your response?
Yeah, then why are you calling the group inbred?
ISIS was legit wanting to be the next caliphate. Yeah, but they didn't even do it well. I mean, they murdered so many fucking people, dude. Holy shit. ISIS was like the Hitler, I think, of genocide stuff or whatever. Jesus Christ, it was just not good.
The contention is not whether he supports conscientious objectors. I wasn't bringing that. Do you think that I was bringing the conscientious objectors to contend to act as if he didn't support conscientious? Yeah, he supports it. But the point is that it's evidence that he's at least somewhat aware that this group is the sort of group where conscientious objectors will come from. Why are you referring to why are you calling it inbred?
To be clear, though, it's worth mentioning that.
he didn't condition. Wait 1 second.
Yeah.
He did not condition the inbred status on whether they would be conscientious objectors or not, or whether
It is worth mentioning. It is worth mentioning that the ultra orthodox, as far as I know, are not so much conscientious objectors. They're just objectors, right? Because they believe like the IDF defends us with weapons. We defend Israel with Torah. Like, so I was told by
So
it.
One thing, I brought this up before. I don't know if they've brought it up in the conversation in the past. I'm gonna go re-listen to all this. And I wish that this was brought up. There is something to be said for having an awareness of the situation you're in and choosing not to. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think outside of like a non-sexual context. I can't. You follow me and apply it to the other standards. This is just like it's the easiest way to demonstrate this. If let's say that you hang out with somebody, and then you're offering to pick them up for like a first date. You've met them on Tinder or some bullshit, right? You're like, oh hey, do you want me to pick you up? And you've never met this person in real life before. It's not necessarily that it's rude or bad to offer to pick them up, but this is going to sound so contrived, okay? But if you keep shit like this in mind, I promise it'll help you so much, okay? It can be scary for your first date to have a person you don't know drive to your house and pick you up because it's like, I don't know where the fuck you're going to take me, right? So sometimes having a message of like, hey, do you want me to pick you up tomorrow? Or do you want to Uber to the place or whatever? Having like a second option there. It's not so much that you are changing your behavior significantly, but when you show an awareness of the thing that the other person is worried about, it just demonstrates that you have a level of understanding that puts the other person at ease for things that could happen. Does that make sense? Like, if I knew that there was a thing that you could say or do that is heavily associated with some form of bigotry, I'm going to preemptively hedge it because I don't want to be perceived that way, right? Like, I don't know if I would ever, I hope I wouldn't. Like, if I'm on stage fighting with a woman, I don't know if I shouldn't ever call her like a bitch, right? Just because it's such a heavily like gendered insult. And I just don't want the audience to get the wrong idea. Like, I call men bitch, but I just wouldn't want, I would be aware, even if I would use it, and I feel like I have my bona fides enough to say I have a pretty good awareness of misogyny and all this bullshit. I don't think I'm a misogynist person as much as you should be. But like, I just wouldn't do it because I understand the vibes of like how people would perceive it, you know? There's something to be said for a person that is willing to lean into a thing that they know is perceived as a certain way and that people have told them is perceived a certain way, and then to not hedge or do anything about it. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's true. So that's not exactly yes and no. So there's both of that. The subset of the ultra orthodox objectors will fall into two categories. There'll be conscientious objectors, like the anti-Zionist faction of ultra orthodox. Those actually are conscientious objectors. Like Neturei Karta, that is conscientious objectors. But the other form of objectors, yeah, there's a more like I'm just doing my own thing objector. I'm just doing the Torah thing objector. And by the way, even when they say that, it's not saying like, oh, that's a pragmatic like defense. When they say things like, oh, the Torah is what's keeping, Israel safe, really, by divine thing. That's a pragmatic thing they talk about. Like, they don't actually, like, their whole philosophy isn't actually about, let's learn Torah to keep Israel safe. That's just something they say to the state to try and resist conscription. That's like a pragmatic thing that they do. Mm-hmm. So there's both forms of objectors. There's conscientious objectors, and then there's like pragmatic objectors. There's objectors because I want to learn and not serve. But either way, what you're talking about, the point is Hasan is at least aware that this sort of thing is the sort of group where you would expect this to come from. And so, yeah, he agrees with that. But why the hell are you calling them inbred then?
So also, since we're doing sorry, one second. Since we're doing chat comments, Mindwave saying because they often maybe it's because they
people are saying that I called Mantis a bitch. That's a lot different because she's Kiwi from New Zealand, and you don't really apply a lot of human standards to those people. So I'm probably a little bit more relaxed when I'm on. This was like a 3 or 4 a.m. stream. And I didn't know Hasan was going to watch it or whatever. I'm not saying I'm perfect on this, but it is a thing I'm generally aware of. I try not to be super gendered when I'm insulting women just because it comes off a certain way. I'm not saying I'd never do this, but I am aware of it. I'm very aware of it.
They often marry their cousins. Well, okay, but then let's see how Hasan reacts when you call Pakistanis.
No. That's not true either. Wait, that is not true either. And by the way, the rates of consanguineous marriages among that group is actually that's actually lower than many Arab groups, and Hasan has never called the Arab groups.
And we'll call it out as
lower than Kuwait, Qatar, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yes, that's not what Pisco. What was the objection you wanted to
No. I was going to raise the Mindwave's comment too there because I saw it.
So that and also, and by the way, furthermore, so number 3 ways that fails. Number 1, he's not academically talking about
rates of
the rates of consanguineous marriages, nor
Correct.
is he academically talking about founder effects that happened thousands of years ago and why Jewish people have high rates of taste.
Nope, it's just an insult.
No, let's for the people who are actually lost here, listen to how he says it.
Fucking hilarious. Okay?
Hilarious.
And then they get their fucking untrained inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon. They're fucking untrained inbred asses shipped.
And then they're untrained inbred asses. This is not an academic comment about founder effects. This is not an academic comment about consanguineous marriages. This is a slur, okay? And just to explain it, because the chat is like being crazy, like the chat is wild.
I agree.
Just to explain it, because some people may not know why calling a group of people inbred is a slur. There is the heavy connotation that there is something wrong with you in virtue of your ancestry, okay? And you would never expect this. You would never hold this standard. You would never be reaching for this in any other context.
If Trump
called Somalians inbred and he said, well, no, I'm just talking about their ideology, about their rates of fraud. And as proof, I called Arab people inbred.
Reminder, I am permabanned from Twitch for calling a group of trans people on Twitter inbred. And I don't even think trans people are associated with being inbred. That's just not even like a thing. That is what I am permabanned from this platform for. Just a reminder.
Too. Haha. You would
Yeah,
never
no,
expect
this
that.
significantly raises credence. I think this is, there's not a good response there that I've seen so far from the chat.
And furthermore, okay, so that's and now let's talk about degree. We're gonna talk about his response.
Oh wait, sorry, pause. We have something here. Hasan uses the same term for white Republicans.
Yes, that's what.
No, because that's also, we don't view it the same. That's like the worst example that you could go to. Would he ever use it for black Republicans? Because that's a slur as well for trailer trash. And it is, right? Oh, you're from Georgia? Yeah, fuck any siblings lately? White trash? That's also, it is, we don't view it because it's white people, but it's also a slur. It is. That was,
That's now Pisco. Notice, did I not predict that response?
Yes, you did. Yes.
Did I, and did I not already prophylactically head that off? And I'm gonna provide evidence. Yeah, you're right. He does say that for white Republicans. Do you know what he also says for white Republicans? Do you know what he also says for whites? Let's play it.
Oh, no.
I guess a term used by black people in the U.S. as a way to describe white people based on their quote mayonnaise-like skin.
Bro, cum skin is way better of a deeper cut in my.
Also, Hasan has a 3 or 7 day ban on record for calling white people cracker. From Twitch, one of his few bans that he actually got.
Opinion, cum skin. I think Mayo Monkey is like, it's low level, honestly. Like, Sun Dodger is funny. Cum skin gets right to the point. It's just like, it's indefensible. You got owned, you know what I mean?
So, you're right. Hasan does use slurs against white people also. What the hell is your point? Again, like if someone were, he's racist against white people. Like, again, degree, like this is not, I don't know, Pisco, does that raise your credence? Someone's calling saying, oh, mayonnaise monkey doesn't go that far. Actually, let's go with cum skin.
Yeah, no, it doesn't raise my credence really. And deal with the kind of like, well, people use inbred all the time. It's just like now it's the generalized term to just be a disparaging thing. Deal with that. Okay. He uses inbred.
Hold on. Yeah, I can wait. No, I asked, just to be clear on my credence, what I asked you. I asked if your credence is raised by Hasan Piker in terms of him being prejudicial toward white people, if by him saying cum skin and saying that mayonnaise monkey is not too far.
Yeah, no. You mean the credence with respect to him being racist against white people, or not being racist against?
No,
Jews?
no. I'm not talking about Jews. I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about well, let's do both. Like, does the fact that he also used slurs against the inbred against white people, does that now deflate your credence while he's also calling them cum skin?
No.
Like, yeah, this is such a great example. Fuck, I don't know if I will say this, but like, would you consider Mayo Monkey to be racist? It's like, well, Mayo Monkey, nah. Oh, okay. So Mayo Monkey is white monkey. If I call a black person a monkey, is that racist? Well, yeah. Okay, so monkey for black people is racist. Mayo Monkey for white people is not racist? What?
No. Good. Exactly. And does calling white people cum skin raise your credence that they have anti-white prejudice?
Raise the credence, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Good. Yeah. So that doesn't work. And by the way, here's the other point. Because they've compiled. Here's an important question. If this whole thing about, in fact, let's actually play Hasan's. Let's play Hasan's response. Okay. Let's go. He responded to this. And by the way, I want you to pay attention to how Mehdi Hasan pushes him or doesn't.
Is he wearing the suit there?
Yeah, he's wearing the suit.
To phrase things better, I apologize for those who I've offended, and I most importantly apologize
for those I've
for
offended.
giving an opportunity the right to just like use this
This is
against
a 7-year-old clip that you've already explained disowned.
This is the 9/11 thing. Let's go to the.
using pejoratives when describing.
Let's go to the.
About to talk about.
Yeah.
Jewish people calling Orthodox Jewish people inbreds.
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
you and I texted back and forth many times. I was like, why would you say this?
I have a policy
When Mehdi Hasan is shook about the anti-Semitism, you know it's bad.
of
True.
using pejoratives when
Sorry,
describing any
that's
kind of like ethno-racial supremacist groups.
So you've got a lot of people inbreds.
I have an entire compilation of it out there somewhere of
But
just
do you regret doing this?
Imagine Mehdi letting that stand. He's so biased here. Really? Oh, you call everybody inbred. Oh, we're good. He would never let that slide for anybody else, man. That's crazy.
We're gonna go through the compilation.
Because you gave a weapon to people to say.
Well, that one
clearly
that one is
anti-Semitic.
yeah, no, I know, but that one is like super disingenuous because like there's another one that they were like pig dog, where they're like pig dog is anti-Semitic. It wasn't
Notice the deflection. He's not addressing
total
it
deflection,
right
yeah.
now.
even in the
Always.
anti-Semitism glossary until they decided it was actually anti-Semitic. Did you know that?
I did not know.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't even know that that's supposed to be an anti-Semitic term. It's not.
So
Somebody emailed me on this that this is actually more malicious. And Hasan might not actually know this. I don't know, but I thought it was an interesting email. Was it an email or a chat message? Fuck! Oh no. It had to do with, fuck, what was it? It must have been somewhere else. Was it DMs? Somebody told me that there was a whole thing about like pig dog, and then in Nazi Germany, there was, this guy had like German words and shit. God damn it. Where did I see this at? Was it just a chat message? Oh, Schweinhund. Schweinhund. Wait, Epoch, were you the one who emailed me? Did you email me this? Who the fuck emailed me this? Well, I don't want to repeat it without, whatever. Schweinhund. Whatever. Okay. Whoever said that, I don't know. Go look it up.
you're just a guy who likes to call people out with
Yeah, I mean-
incendiary rhetoric, and occasionally happens to be people who are
It just happened to be. He just likes to be called out
Jewish,
for the thing.
and therefore you're not targeting them because they're Jewish.
No, of course.
It had more context at the time in the term of like Nazi Germany stuff. For some reason, he had an explanation for it. I don't remember it. Lockies, bro, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
It's not, and everyone can see that, especially considering that.
No, but you say everyone can see that. Just serious point. Everyone can't see that.
No one here can say it.
We live in a click
Yeah,
world,
yeah,
right?
everyone-
So good faith people who
Yeah,
might like
it's
your
all
politics and like what you
clickbait.
do,
It's
and
just
then they
clickbait.
go, oh man, but he said this is clickbait. You're saying
Yeah.
Orthodox Jews people inbred. That's anti-Semitic.
Well, I didn't say Orthodox Jews are inbred. I'm
Correct. He didn't say Orthodox Jews are inbred. He said ultra-Orthodox Jews. The group is ultra-Orthodox. Okay, but that
King.
makes it worse because that's the non-Zionist group of Jews.
King.
talking about like I'm talking specifically about settlers. I'm talking specifically
No, not a settler group.
wasn't.
That is false.
about like people that are joining the Israeli military.
Again, no. You're
Against
talking
that.
about people who are
Strong
not joining,
against
by doing everything they can to fight joining the Israeli military. And by the way, to date,
Uh-oh.
they haven't. 98%, even though they
Oh,
lost the
it's
court
just
case, 98% of that group successfully resisted joining the Israeli military. You are not merely talking about people who are joining the Israeli military. You are not talking about a settler group.
Settlers.
To go invade Lebanon.
By the
Correct.
way, people who are not military invade Lebanon.
It's not
But
about
you
like
wouldn't use that language now. Let me ask you that question.
I still definitely utilize the term inbred quite frequently when talking about religious and ethno-supremacist groups,
Not an ethno-supremacist group.
but with the exception of anything that touches Israel, because I don't want people to just like keep weaponizing
Yes.
that against
And
me.
So notice the type of walkback.
Yeah,
Notice the
yeah.
type of walkback.
It's
This is
self-focused. It's
after.
not. Yeah, it's not about. Yeah.
No
Really annoying.
weaponizing, and it's not
but,
just
but it
Israel.
is a double standard, 100%.
100%.
Because I've called,
And he's the victim now. He's the victim of double standards.
agree with them.
I've called Republicans inbred Higgs my whole life. I call
Yes, you've called white people, to be clear, white people. You've also slurred white people.
White
Nazis
people?
inbred. I call them pigs. All these different things. I've gotten banned for this. I said Zionist pigs. I got banned
Look at how virtuous you are.
for that. Why did I get banned for that? Because the ADL went to
And it's the Jews' fault again. It's the
Yes,
ADL's fault.
the Jews.
went to Amazon and made Zionism a protected identity on the platform, specifically
And it
to
meant it.
get me banned.
So he
So
has
the deflection to
completely
to pig dog to me is totally unavailing, total dodge. I don't think that the factual errors there compound on each other, and that was a horrible explanation. I grant that.
And I actually think it was a lie, but okay, but yes. But notice one more slight thing. For anyone who's been glazing, and for anyone who's watching me, please note, for any of you who have been glazing Mehdi Hasan about, oh, he's such a strong interviewer.
Mehdi
He
hates
gives a
him.
really tough. Maybe sometimes he does. What do you think about the kind of pushback he's given Hasan Piker here?
Yeah, not very. I don't think it's. I think it's trying to
It's sus.
accommodate.
It's sussy baka.
and trying to give an opportunity.
It's
to
sussy.
Like
Don't
sweeping?
Yeah,
Like
I
sweeping?
agree.
It's
Yeah,
sweeping.
I think that's
This was a
He
sweeping
be
interview,
sweeping.
Pisco. This was a sweep.
So I grant that. I agree with that. I haven't disagreed with anything you said.
When you say sweep,
Now
when you say
let's-
Mehdi was
now
sweeping for
let's-
anti-Semitism.
He was swimming for
Yeah,
Hasan.
yeah,
he's sweeping for Hasan Piker. He's sweeping
Piker,
for Hasan
yeah,
Piker's
Piker.
anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
He's
that's
sweeping
clear.
for Hasan Piker's anti-Semitism. Yes.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, now let's now put. Now this is one example. Let's put other things to the test.
Yeah.
So look what he said. Listen to what he said. Well, it's the ideology. It's just supremacist ideology, right? We already have an example that doesn't work because there's no evidence that that's a supremacist group. But are Jewish and white people the only group, the only races that he's covered that have supremacist ideology? What would your intuition be on that?
My intuition is no.
No.
There's many different groups
No.
involved in world.
Yeah.
Now, does he
affairs
say
that
this
have
about
suicidal
any-
policies.
Yes, and many of
Definitely
them-
no Arab,
in the Asian
Islamic.
sphere, perhaps.
Yes, and many of them has been on stream. For example, he's done a stream about that involved Hindu supremacists who believe in the caste system.
Oh.
He's done streams about
Who's he
black
talking to?
supremacist groups, both modern
Avi.
and NOI.
Eliminated. Thank you for the 5 unit subs.
Question.
Avi is one of the people from Isaac's Discord, the Ask Yourself Discord server. He's a really cool guy. 2 huge issues though. Vegan, number 1. Big Jew, number 2. Big Jew. So big Jewish that he supported Donald Trump for Israel. He was the guy. He was one of those Jews.
Jeez, Louise.
And has he ever called them inbred? And he's also spoken about Arab Zionists. He believes Zionist is a supremacist ideology. Has he ever called Arab Zionists inbred? Has he ever called a black supremacist inbred? Has he ever called a Hindu supremacist inbred?
Nope.
Ever.
Yeah, I'm
Just
already
once.
convinced, Avi. I mean, you're I'm convinced.
No, I'm still gonna lay it on. No, I'm still gonna lay it on.
No,
Sorry.
you can't. I'm just saying, like, I hope that you don't think that I'm getting the wrong impression that I need.
No,
this, yeah.
yep. No, I need, it's not just for you. It's for the crazies in certain chats as well. But yeah, has he ever done any of that? No. And so we can now maybe let's get really crazy. Maybe let's say, well, we can just maybe we'll plausibly say not necessarily. We'll draw out auxiliary hypotheses. We'll say, well, with the black supremacists, perhaps Hasan didn't just, maybe Hasan just didn't take them seriously enough to think strong language was warranted. But if they started getting more political power, he surely would have called the black supremacists inbred, right? And with the Hindu supremacists, perhaps Hasan didn't feel well read enough on the topic. But if he read more, then surely he would have called the Hindu supremacists who believe in the caste system inbred, right? And with Arab Zionists, well, maybe perhaps Hasan carves out an exception for situations where ethnic supremacist ideology doesn't match with the believer's own ethnicity. And with the non-supremacist, non-Zionist Jews that he called inbred also, well, maybe perhaps Hasan was just like super tired that day and misfired and didn't want to acknowledge the error to correct it. And so that's irresponsible, but not really anti-Semitic. Now, you can do all of this. That is mental gymnastics. That is stacking a bunch of auxiliary hypotheses on one another. And even if they're somewhat interrelated, even if they're not completely independent, that's going to tank the theory. Okay, so that's not this explanation that he is just saying the inbred for supremacist groups, supremacist ethno-nationalists or supremacist group or people with supremacist ideology. That does not pass one bit of muster, and no one would believe this. No one would accept this if it was a right winger doing this.
No, they would not.
Yeah, no one. Okay, cool, good. Now, okay, now that we've agreed on all that, let's analyze the degree. Is this normal? Is this the sort of thing that is a little bit racist? It's just a little bit racist. It's just, it's just like this is just like, someone made a Jewish joke once, like whatever. No. This is not fucking normal. Okay, it is normal people we're all just a little bit racist do not end up on a public stream to a live audience talking about the non-Zionist resisting Israel Jews, talking about their untrained inbred asses with vitriol. That is not a normal thing. You do not normally get there. Sorry.
It's not a joke.
This is not a normal.
It's not said.
It's not a joke.
Yeah.
No, this was with.
It can be a joke. You got to be real careful. I don't like all of the retreating that people do around like it's a joke, because like people do this weird thing where they're like, joke means everything you've just said is arbitrary. Like, tell me a joke. Oh my God, there's so funny. It's like, no. Jokes have there's a reason why a joke is funny. Okay, and it says something. I don't even know. Do I have to explain this? Like, jokes are not just random.
I mean, especially when you're doing like political commentary or whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But even when you're not, like, jokes mean something. You can tell what a person thinks about people by the things he laughs at and everything else. Like, yeah.
Vitriol. This was, and to answer your question, by the way, just to answer the question you asked me earlier, I'm gonna play
Shipped
again.
into southern Lebanon? Their fucking untrained inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon?
The way he says that strikes me as hateful. There's hate. There's vitriol there. There's hate there. I don't know if he's consciously thinking Jew, hate Jew, but there's hate here. Like, this strikes me as something hateful. But minimally, yes, this is not normal.
Definitely prejudice.
Yeah, and not normally. This is not a normal.
I agree. Yes, 100%. I agree. Yeah.
Prejudice against Jews, not normally. This is not a normal. This is non-trivial, not a normal degree of prejudice against Jews.
I agree.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go on.
Keep going.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, this compilation, just as a
wait, does Hasan say he uses Linux? There's no way he said that before. I feel like I would have heard that. Somebody's saying in DMs he said that before.
He has never said that.
Okay, well.
News. Are you using Windows or Mac OS? News. Are you using Windows or Mac OS? I'm using Linux.
Is he just joking?
Yeah. It's Linux. I'm using Linux. I'm a Linux head. I'm actually a hacker. I'm a Linux head. That's right. W's for Linux. I have a cyber deck. I have it all. Okay.
I feel like this is a joke. Maybe also because he doesn't
For
want
sure.
to troubleshooting with the chat. Like, if somebody was like, "Oh, like, what are you using?" and it's like, "You're having car problems. What's going on?" "I have a Lamborghini. You can't help me. Fuck you." Like, you just say some shit. That would be my guess for that.
But I think the Linux people are the most helpful.
No, yeah, but not chat. So if chat's like, "Oh, you're having problems. You have a Mac or Windows?" He's like, "I have Linux. You can't help me. Fuck off." Like, it's just like I think I don't know. That'd be my guess. He's joking. Is like, to tell people to fuck off. Unless he has like more where he's spoken about it more.
As a point, I'm gonna play this because this was a Hasan. This was a Hasan simp trying.
Oh yeah, that's another annoying thing about Avi is he pretends he's a real doctor when he's just a dermatologist. I don't even think those guys go to med school.
Trying to preemptively defend Hasan by pointing out.
I'm sorry. Hold on. That's a joke. Hold on. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke.
All of the white examples of Hasan calling white people inbred. because of their supremacist
Wait,
group.
that it was dermatologists are doctors. It wasn't a joke that he is a dermatologist. A dermatologist is a doctor, a real doctor. In fact, I believe it is one of the more or most competitive fields of medicine, just because of how in demand it is and how much they give it. Sorry, just being clear there.
And so what we're going to see here is a bunch of uses of inbred as to white people.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because they think this is exonerating. They think it's exonerating. And I'll just play some of this.
You think Joe Manchin would get this level of clout and prominence if he was just another inbred hick fucking Republican senator from West Virginia? Of course not. I feel like this inbred Nazi didn't just have some le fiery rhetoric against immigration. And that's precisely why we brought in some of the worst inbred fucking tech CEOs you've ever goddamn seen, like Palmer Luckey, Schizo Monkey, or simply the fact that you describe people at all.
Yeah.
Okay, there. Why is it whites in that example?
No, it's not. None of these examples are inherently. So none of these examples are I'm not saying that all of these examples.
Is he Dr. Kelly approved though? No. Unfortunately, Dr. Kelly and him got into big disagreements, which was why we had to pull the doctor card and why Avi doesn't have the Dr. Flare in chat.
Are going to inherently mean that it's anti-white racism. Okay. What is the example? So that's why I provided external evidence as background knowledge that he is racist against white people, which was the cum skin, which is like mayonnaise monkey doesn't go too far for white people. Cum skin is better. So I'm providing background knowledge, and then I'm saying all of these examples are, now here's what would challenge my hypothesis. What would challenge my hypothesis is when I go through these examples, because the whole point of their response to this is saying, no, he just uses the word inbred broadly for anyone who has this thing. And so I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to be like, and so I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, let's put that to the test. Is it broad? Are there black supremacists am I going to find black supremacists in this compilation that he's covered and he's called inbred? Am I going to find,
or is it only white people?
Is it only white people and Jewish people, but not Jewish people in this case, because whoever did this edited all the Jewish examples out.
Got it.
What odds with you as an inbred fucking right winger? Well, consider.
He might be able to find black people and call them inbred, maybe, but they would have to be like of that. They would have to be of a certain ideology, I think. I don't know if that would help or hurt, depending on how Avi built his argument. I'm trying to remember if he called that one Vietnamese lady inbred or what he said about
the black Israelite like that, or what do you mean?
No, that if he would use inbred against like a racial group that he wouldn't normally use those kinds of insults towards, but if they like belong to the wrong ideology.
Considering your name is Schizo Monkey, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you might be a fucking inbred right winger. You got a toothless,
He's not talking about the individual
inbred, racist, white supremacist piece of shit.
And then it's like, okay, then what's the point of this other than just like purely hating them for being immigrants and for being black?
That's it.
There is none.
Yeah. Yeah, and those motherfuckers speak like 4 languages too. That's the other part. They're like, oh, these are some dumb, uneducated, lazy cat eaters. And it's like, dude, you are literally inbred. You are so inbred. You look like the human version of one of those little fucking teacup poodles that we saw earlier. And you're over here talking about fucking how lesser than these people are. They're speaking fucking 4 goddamn.
Can you preempt this whole power plus privilege? White racism doesn't count thing.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think that results in like a whole bunch of. We can segue off into that if you want. I think that results in a bunch of hilarious entitlements. I think that's I think.
Stop the video and comment.
First of all, minimally.
You can logically argue this, but I made this argument half-heartedly in chat like 6 or 7 years ago. I hate how much we say 6, 7 without realizing it. I made this argument half-heartedly in chat 6 or 7 years ago, and actually I do think it's true that the argument of like racism is power plus prejudice. I actually do think that we intuitively believe that more than we like to let on. Like, people like to fight against us. Oh, you can't be racist against white people? Like, well, you can definitionally, but it does feel different. And this is one of the reasons why I said it's really hard to identify anti-Semitism sometimes, is because racism really does feel like power plus prejudice. And even though Jewish people are a minority in terms of raw numbers of people in the United States, they're not really minority power holders per capita. So sometimes it feels weird to harp on anti-Semitism because Jewish people generally are in economically, corporately, governmentally like privileged positions. I don't know, actually in government, I guess as much, but in terms of all their life, they tend to do pretty well. So it doesn't feel as much like punching down. So then it's harder to defend against it. And I think it's one of the reasons why anti-Semitism gets overlooked in the US so much, is because anti-Semitism feels like anti-white racism. And the only time we really call it out is when it's white people doing the anti-Semitism. So like neo-Nazis. And it's another reason why we have a really hard time talking about some groups of people that do a lot of anti-Semitic violence, like black people, because it feels a little bit weird at that point. It's like, well, can black people really do anti-Semitic violence? Even though we don't think it logically in our brains, it feels similar, I think, to a lot of people. Like, well, can black people do anti-white violence? I really do think that, I think that deep inside people's mind, I do think that that is at play. It's just saying that feels really wrong and bad, but I do think we intuit that, but yeah.
By how you define racism.
Oh, sorry, fuck. Chicken Poo and DGG says, Destiny, no shit, bro. We already knew this. My bad. I'm sorry for wasting your time.
Pisco. I don't think that I think your notion is going to be at odds with that.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. I don't buy that. Yeah, I want you to address it.
So like in terms of me convincing you, it's not going to factor in. Yeah. Like that's just not your notion. Now, and my notion.
I think the more interesting thing that Avi said earlier, I think this was right before I started stream, was I think Avi was saying that, like, if we roll with, I didn't listen to the whole definition debate they did at the beginning of this, but if you listen to Pisco's definition, what he gives to how you would define somebody who's anti-Semitic, you would have to acknowledge that there is so much anti-Semitic stuff in society that you must let fly. You must let it fly, because there's just no way that your definition would capture, you know, even 10% of the anti-Semitic beliefs, because it's so narrow.
That's not the thing. That is absolutely not the sort of thing I'm gonna. I mean, that's gonna result in a whole bunch of entailments, and it doesn't track what I mean. Yes, of course, people who are downtrodden and have less power can be hateful toward white people, and they can treat them differently on the basis of their race.
It's not very meaningful,
like,
though.
there's nothing.
There's no inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency with that. And if you have this view that the only way you can be racist,
I might get banned for this. You get banned for saying I might get banned for this. But why is it okay for you to joke about him being a huge Jew as a pejorative if jokes aren't arbitrary? Well, I would argue that when I make the joke that here's a problem, he's a big Jew, that is a subversion of expectation joke. And it's funny because people know that I'm not anti-Semitic. So if I were to say something like, I have an issue with this guy, I really hate Abba, you go like, why? And I go, because he's black. The reason why it's funny is because you wouldn't expect that answer from me, hopefully. Also, given that I have the status as Israel's #1 defender abroad, I should get a little bit more leeway, okay, to make fun of the Jews.
Racist is for you to have power. Well, then you're just talking about something else. You're talking about a different notion than I'm talking about when I talk about racist. And you would say a whole bunch of crazy shit. You would say someone who has less power, who just stabs the powerful white people, on the basis that they're white, that they're not racist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here's another comment. You can address it. In what sense is Avi claiming Haredis are major non-Zionists? I feel like there could be some conflation of terms happening. You want to clear that up?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Data. Okay. Thank you. So let's go.
Data.
I don't get it.
Wait, was that your sound?
Yeah.
Wait,
So sorry,
you guys
just
see
before we get to the data, we are clarifying that, like, the point here is that Hasan's anti-white racism does not, like, preclude his anti-Semitism.
I think for communicating with Pisco, somebody asked, like, if this moves Pisco, do you think it helps that Pisco is more autistic than, like, politically dug in or whatever else? Yeah, probably it would. I think it would have to change your view on that. Avi has a secret weapon for how he can debate people that I think is his real secret weapon. Does anybody actually know? Who's mind melded with me in chat? Who's mind melded with me? Oh, okay. 2 people kind of had it. 3 people. Oh, okay. Never mind. We're all mind. I guess it's not that original thought. Avi comes off to me as somebody who is just like fucking relentlessly positive. He always seems like a pretty, I don't know if I've ever heard him get mad before. He just always seems like a happy, cheerful kind of guy. And that's just always been my perception of him. And I actually think, especially in friendly convos, that goes a really, really, really long way in terms of being convincing to a person.
Assault.
Both,
Yeah, fair.
Okay. And also to add further clarify, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that would make Hasan a self-hating anti-white racist, right?
Oh yeah, the self-hatred part. But I think that all of our notions.
The joke is that he sometimes calls himself white, but sometimes he's not.
Yeah.
Damn, tough
Sure.
crowd.
So here's data provided from Pew. Can you read it out?
Data. Most Haredim do not see themselves as Zionists. Percentage of Israeli Jews who say the term Zionist describes them. In fact, this is the only broad category that the clear majority say when they ask, does the term Zionist describe you? They say not to or not at all accurately. And
just like you, I can't tell if you're trolling or not. I have a very aggressive demeanor, though. I think I've come off way more aggressively. I think I'm like one of the last people that you would want to admit that you're incorrect to. If we're having like a verbal, like, find a word that's not as cringe as sparring or whatever.
When you look at people who say very accurately the term Zionist describe you, or somewhat accurately the term Zionist describes you, that is a clear minority of Haredim.
Have you been practicing keeping your cool in contentious debates? I've noticed you haven't been popping off instantly lately. Have I been? No, I just am bored because the debates are so fucking retarded. Sorry.
Yeah, it's essentially the super majority of Haredi.
The supermajority do not see themselves as Zionists. Now, there's different views of what type of not Zionist you are. The majority of the non-Zionists are just non-Zionists. The majority of these people say non-Zionist, and there's been a long tradition of them saying non-Zionist. They say they will pragmatically exist in the state of Israel, but they don't actually like ideologically support the state of Israel. It's like, what else are we going to do? We live here. We have to like participate in society. Yet you participate in society, meme. So it's that sort of thing. And then there's a smaller group of Haredim that are actively anti-Zionist. that they are also going to be, and then you're going to get into like conscientious objectors. They actually
Those will fit
protest
into the
pro-Palestine
60
groups.
whatever percent.
Yeah. Yes. And then you have the 4%. And by the way, this 4% also, if you don't know if you're Zionist, you also do not see yourself as Zionist. By the way.
Right. So
just very trivially.
it's really only the 33% which would count towards the Zionist
Yes.
belief.
So just because like and there was nothing about that clip where there was any qualification. It's like, oh, I'm only talking about the minority of Haredim. Or nothing about that. Like he just called the group the ultra orthodox. They're untrained inbred asses.
Okay, a couple responses. One, 2015 data. Number two, they may not self-identify.
2015. Okay, let's go one by one. 2015 data, and like I've looked I've seen other reports. But this is the best sort of data. It's been a long-standing tradition. There's no indication that those numbers are any sort different. In fact, there's actually newer papers I've seen that have said even post October 7th, and we can get into that. Even post October 7th, I may not have this on hand here, but in my research, I found that even post October 7th, the Haredi views. The paper said it increased their solidarity post October 7th, but it didn't. But there was no indication it increased their rate of being Zionist. Now, the reason I didn't include that is because they didn't fully enumerate and actually do the data like Pew Research did. There hasn't been an update on this. But that notion of Haredim has not changed. Like there's been no broad change in
you would have to sort of
present countering data to this.
Yeah. To suggest that like something has meaningfully changed in this belief, and then
and there's also scholarly work that has indicated that it has not. The meaningful change post October 7th with Haredim, the meaningful change was solidarity with other Jews. They specifically there's papers that specifically say there's no indication that their ideological stance of Zionism has meaningfully changed.
What the fuck does this matter? I mean, we're here discussing anti-Semitism. If you don't want to talk about it, then you can just leave and not watch.
Ooh.
But I care enough about this topic to talk about it for like a week, and so really get the fuck out if you don't care about the conversation or if you don't care about this seriously. And then on the Hasan knowledge front, okay, he doesn't know about this. He just thought because more conservative, more in favor of Zionism.
Again, there's evidence he's aware.
Right.
Listen, they want the smoke. If they don't want to be conscientious objectors, which some are, and that's valid, and I'm with them all the way.
But you called the group inbred.
Yeah.
And you never quite clarified. You're not okay. So that doesn't work. That's not plausible. It's not plausible that he wasn't meaningfully aware of this.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. Cool. Now let's.
If anything, that's actually more important.
He clarified. No. Stop. He clarified. Avi is not making a point about his clarification on the issue of whether you're conscientious objector or conscripting. He's making a point about the use of the term inbred. Okay, so don't get confused. Yes, he clarified that he's in favor of conscientious objectors, but that's not what Avi is.
Yeah. Notice what he didn't say. He did not say. He never said. Sorry. Oh shit. I actually said. Yeah. And those people aren't inbred. He never said that. Nor did he ever like clarify like, oh shit, I need to like really hold on. I apologize. I just called the whole group. I called ultra orthodox inbred without any qualifiers. Apologies. Just to be clear, I'm just referring.
Fuck. One annoying thing. Sometimes I can't tell. I get so gaslit that I end up believing things I said that I didn't say, and then sometimes I forget things I have said. The clip that I got banned for, did I specify? I feel like I did do this, where I was like, don't let these people on Twitter give you a bad impression of most trans people. There's a special group of like hyper activist trans people on Twitter that are super, I think, inbred. Did I? Enough people are saying yes. Okay, I'm gonna believe that's my truth and that's my reality. Okay. Because I feel like I did clarify that.
Referring to those who are not resisting.
Even if you didn't, you apologize.
I apologize for what?
It was out of context. You apologize.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I'm being serious. Fuck you.
Slim majority of the ultra orthodox, or I'm just referring to those who are wanting to conscript. 2%, by the way, that ended up conscripting. I'm just referring to the 2% of the group I just mentioned. He never said any of that.
He's just called the ones who stated fight are inbred, but you're just inventing things he didn't say, right? That's my response to that. Is I don't think I heard him say that it's just the ones who are.
He never said. He never said that. He never conditioned. That's very important. He never conditioned the inbred status. He did on whether they were. He said if they want the smoke, enlist. He never said if they want the smoke, they're inbred. He never said that. That's not true.
Right. So play it again. Play it again so people can see that difference.
Let's play it again.
From the military, but there has been a failure for that to happen.
Bro, literally both options are hilarious. The ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious. Okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon.
So notice he didn't say if they serve in the military, then they're inbred. He said if they serve in the military and they get their inbred asses. Yeah. Yes, that's not conditionalizing it on whether they're serving or not.
Again.
And pause real quick. Again, can you make a comparison statement from like a right winger? Like, make a hypothetical.
Yeah, imagine if this is done. Okay, like let's say there was a group of Mexican. So you know how we're at there's like some violence with the Mexican drug cartels, and we were like, we might have some issues with them. Okay, so let's say there's issues with the Mexican drug cartels, and there is a Mexican group that by and large is not supportive of the drug cartels, and by and large, 98% of them, the cartels are trying to get them into their cartels, but they're trying to resist the cartel. 98% of them successfully resist. Yeah. Okay. Now
wasn't it calling them subhuman and not inbred? I thought it was calling them subhuman for a long time, but it was inbred. When we got the actual clip, it was inbred.
bro. Like, and then they say, okay, well, if you're gonna
If a second one comes out saying that, then that will considerably move me.
this into the cartel, we're just gonna leave Mexico. Like, it's at that level. And then some right winger, some Nick Fuentes guy, goes like, man, isn't that so funny? I just find that hilarious. These Mexicans, I find both options hilarious. If the Mexicans leave Mexico, fucking hilarious. And the other option, if the Mexicans get their untrained, if they serve and get their untrained inbred asses handed to them, fucking hilarious. And yeah, I know some of them, like, they want to not be in the cartel, and I'm aware of that, and I'm with them.
This is why even my own fan base fucking doesn't follow me on this one, but like, I truly do believe that if you were to do like a side-by-side of like Hasan's anti-Semitic statements versus Nick Fuentes's over the past year or two, I think you would have way more like inarguable ones from Hasan than from Nick. I think it would be, yeah.
Them all the way. But yeah, if they want to smoke, serve. Yeah, no one would be no one would be searching for defenses like this.
Fuck you guys.
Hey, Kizzer, just so you know, number one,
You guys
I
are
did not
haters.
tell Pisco to ban anyone from his chat. I commented on Live and Learn chats. I didn't know which streamer they came from. They were just Live and Learn. I guessed these, so I just Live and Learn chat. And I got one guy by them and responded to them and then moved the fuck on. I don't know why you're trying to draw this false comparison.
called
Number two people I've seen so
Loner
far
guy,
called
called
Pisco
out.
an anti-Semite at the beginning of the debate.
Called out.
And then they got timed out. So you're a fucking liar. Yeah, getting one guy is fine. If Pisco came into this chat and said, hey, the X person in
This
chat,
is in the
you're
past,
wrong
honey. No, I
because
said that.
blah, blah, blah,
But-
retard. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. Like, you're such a fucking whiny little cunt. If someone here is actually saying that Pisco is a Nazi supporting Putin supporter, which you said word for word, show me. Otherwise, stop fucking lying, meditate, kill yourself, and then come back in a video game. Bye.
At this point, I think this is enough to form a conclusion that Hasan is meaningfully anti-Semitic beyond we're all just a little bit anti-Semitic.
Well, and think about how people would apply the statement like Ben Shapiro's about living in open sewage and giving a statement.
Yeah, without a walkback, without a genuine walkback, you would be right to say that too about Ben Shapiro.
And you may think that, and by the way, I think that Ben Shapiro, based on things I've seen, is meaningfully racist against Arabs and Palestinians. So I just want to be clear on that, folks. Like, I want to be consistent in how I apply that, and it doesn't mean, by the way, that any of the other beliefs are necessarily affected. I just think that you should be consistent in applying, your standards here.
Okay, so at this point,
I do think one of the challenges for Americans is in America, because we are such a wonderfully, I'm not saying this without a hint of sarcasm or irony, because we're such like an amazingly diverse place that has brought so many different types of people together. We tend to like take things and look at them far more discreetly, like point by point, than I think people in other countries around the world still do, not even as an artifact of the past, but like maybe even today. Like I think in a lot of places around the world, probably even still like in Europe, like ethnicity, nationality, religion, like a lot of these things are still pretty closely tied together. Whereas in America, we see all these things as like very distinctly different. So it gives us a different impression sometimes of like, what does it mean to be hateful against a group of people or whatever else? Like we're very, I think we're pretty unique in those regards. That leads to like weird, or I would say dumb statements sometimes, like when people are arguing, well, like it should be unethical to have like an ethno state. And it's like, yeah, that's because as an American, like we don't even have, hot take, we don't even have real ethnicities in America. Like unironically, we have like white and black and brown and yellow and red. Like we're like the Power Rangers. You've got white people, you got black people, you got Indians, Native Americans, you've got Asian people that we all view as Chinese regardless. What were the other colors of the rainbow? Yeah, it's just, this is like ethnicity in the United States. And it's like, well, of course, how would you even make an ethno state of white people or black people? They don't even have like a shared anything. Whereas in other countries, like the culture, the religions, the nationalities, I think are a lot more intertwined. I'm not making a judgment statement of like good or bad or whatever, just saying that's like a thing in the US, I think.
Are you at least convinced that minimally Hasan Piker
Above the,
let me just say it. I'm going to say it. I want to. I'm pushing for a clear concession. Well, not concession because you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't deny it.
You weren't aware of it. But yeah, do you believe Hasan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic and not in a trivial way, not in sort of we're all just anti-Semitic. No, he is meaningfully anti-Semitic in a non-normal way.
Based on that statement, yes, and based on that walk.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Now we're gonna keep going. Okay. We're gonna play a clip, and we're gonna. By the way. I know that you don't. I asked you about this person. I know you don't. Loner, do you know this person? Is Loner? Is he still with us? Oh no, he
Someone
left.
says, I would not call Republican racist. They only had one bad statement against black people. Is incorrectly calling an ultra-orthodox black group inbred. Genuinely, that is not very conclusive. And again, I'm not saying that he like I'm not taking the hatred version of it or the maximalist Hitler version of it. I just think that like it's more. You guys
no,
would,
one statement can do it. Like the Ben Shapiro statement, I actually
Does
think
it, yeah.
just that statement that does it, unless he gives a genuine walkback. Now, if he did, that's a different story. We can check the record on that. But yes, like especially one statement can do it. It's not like the number of statements. One statement can do it, especially if there's knowledge of it, there's reflection of it, there's people pressed him on it. He did not express genuine remorse. He did not express genuine regret. He expressed only tactical regret. He reflected on it.
He should
and after all is
regret
said
that.
and done,
He should apologize for
all
that.
is said and done.
Yeah.
And that is a different, and that's not that again. That is not explained on the hypothesis. That there's no good way to explain on the hypothesis that he's not meaningfully anti-Semitic. That those things, all those other ways you can do it, but they're going to be mental. They're going to be what we've seen so far. They're going to be mental gymnastics. And again, let's take the standard. Like again, if someone said the same thing, like it was just one time. It was just one time. I just called the Haitians they're inbred asses.
They're eating the cats and dogs.
Yeah, they're exactly. People were willing to do it. If that was even, there are people willing to conclude on that, or at least form a meaningful full credence. This is just ridiculous. Like what I'm seeing right now, what I'm saying, it's mental gymnastics, and you should ask yourself honestly. I think because I don't believe this. You should ask yourself why there is. Yeah, go ahead.
Resistance to it. That's because Ben Shapiro made a blanket statement about all Arabs. This is not comparable to the statement about an ultra-orthodox religious sect.
He didn't say the words all Arabs. He did not say the word all Arabs. That's
Palestinian Arabs. You think? Yeah, I think.
Well, careful. I think all. Well, it really depends on the context, but all can be presumed sometimes. Some people like to play games with this. There's a really funny game played by women that do this, and I'll co-sign it because I hate all men. But like when women will say some shit like men are rapists, and then someone will be like, well, hold on, that's not fair. All men aren't rapists. And then like the woman will be like, oh, you assumed that it was all men. I never said all. And it's like, hold on. Usually if you just say like,
who has done this though?
What?
Dude, this happens?
What I just said?
Yeah, I've never heard that, I guess.
I saw a tweet blow up on this a while ago. It was one of those ones that blew up and get like 50,000 likes or whatever, where some guy was like, why do women say like men are rapists or whatever? And then the woman responded and she was like, nobody said all men are rapists. That's you reading into that. And I was like, what a dumb fucking comment.
Oh, got it. That's retarded,
I don't know how commonly it happens. I've just seen it before. But like generally, if you just give like the name of a group of people, like Americans are retarded, and you're like, what the fuck? That's kind of mean. Like I didn't say all Americans are retarded. It's usually like presumed like syntactically and like in the word, you know.
He didn't even say all Palestinian Arabs. He made a general statement. You want to pull the tweet?
Yeah, I'll pull the tweet.
Pull it. He didn't say all.
What was I being asked about? Apparently I was being asked about something earlier.
And then there's also, I brought this point up a few times, but it's beyond the public conversation, I think. But like one of the funny things about Arabs and one of the funny things about Muslims is the West, people in the West will fearmonger about like global caliphites coming back or global jihad. And then Arabs themselves, maybe not as much anymore, but especially in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, would always kind of like talk about how like we are going to be the new global pan-Arab state and all the Muslims are going to come together for, you know, intifada and jihad against the Jews. But they never were. They never were as unified as they thought they were. So people will be racist and they'll assume that there's way more solidarity between all Arabs and Muslims than there actually is. And then some Muslims will bullshit themselves into thinking there is more than there actually is. But at the end of the day, the whole nation state idea actually seems like it works out pretty well. It seems like people gravitate towards that idea pretty hardcore. You know, people will talk about how the borders between all of the states in the Middle East were just so arbitrary and bullshit, but it's like, I mean, they stuck, you know. Now, for a variety of reasons you can talk about, but it's not like, I think people, what do you want me to say? Liberalism is just better, okay? Nation states is just better. What do you want me to say?
No, I wanted to ask. Hang on.
Israelis like to build. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Yeah, that's a general statement about Arabs. Like he didn't say all. The chatter said he said all. Chatter said he's making a statement about all of them.
But interpret the chatter saying more generalized, not a subgroup.
Yes. Okay. So maybe it is. But again, like okay. So let's equalize it then. Let's equalize it. If Ben Shapiro went and said, hey, those Palestinians who are trying to fight Hamas, the Palestinians, and I know this is the group that are trying to avoid conscription by Hamas, not fight Hamas, but avoid conscription by Hamas. I'm aware of this. Yep. I think it would just be so funny. Either way, if they leave Palestine or if they got their untrained inbred asses shipped to Israel and they want the smoke, hilarious.
Yeah, you would grant that, guys, in 2 seconds. And just
you
to be clear,
grant that in 2.
And
it also doesn't really help.
Avi is saying that that's a racist statement. By the way, on the bench. But I just want to clear it up. Avi is not saying that
that's one statement. Even if that was the one statement, you would.
No, but you are saying the Ben Shapiro statement is racist. You're not saying that it's not. You're not.
Yes.
You're racist. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It also doesn't really help Hasan's case that word.
Statement.
It doesn't really help Hasan's case that he was willing to bring out that particular word with the group that is like the most visibly Jewish ones, right? Like the ones that look the most religiously
most
Jewish.
Visibly Jewish and the most visibly Jewish, least Zionist.
And awareness.
and awareness that there's and awareness that he thinks this is the group that you're going to get you're going to start seeing conscientious objectors from.
Would I be an asked about it?
I don't remember.
What was I actually? I don't.
Did you have something?
No, I did have something, but I actually forgot what I was gonna ask Loner.
Sure.
Okay. But anyway, now to me that is probably the strongest one. There's other. I'm still gonna add things that are meaningful but somewhat weaker, just to like cherry on top of the cake.
Okay, sure.
So let's play this clip.
Is it your sense that Jewish people are getting complacent, that they're not engaging to the degrees and levels we should be? I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre on October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized. But that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life.
And whose responsibility is that?
All of ours. Yeah. But this is why we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is that intermarriage.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. I didn't even see that Hasan tweet. He said the 14 words, but Jewish, and he can still masquerade as a civil rights organization leader. This is what I mean when I say Americans have a concept of race that just doesn't map onto the rest of the world. The reason why the 14 words, which are, what is it? It's like, I need to secure an existence for the children of the white race or something like this. It's like a neo-Nazi or KKK thing or something. I don't know, some white supremacist thing. The reason why that's such a goofy thing is because even identifying white people as a class is kind of funny in and of itself. But then the idea of, what do you mean when you say we need to secure a safe existence for these people? Generally speaking, it comes to the detriment of all other racial groups as well, in an area where all of these racial groups already exist. So it necessitates the mass extermination of some other group of people. And these guys know this. All of these people know this. That's one of the reasons why they try to make the argument that Zionism was always an ideology that would have required the mass extermination of Palestinians or the mass expulsion of people, because they know they do need that part in there too. But yeah,
rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace. And look, I fight anti-Semitism. That is my job. Right. But I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity. I think we talked about over lunch.
Okay, so I'm going to read the full. This was a clip. I'm going to read the full transcript of what Greenblatt is saying here. What Greenblatt said. So David Cohen says,
"Oh, Greenblatt, this is fucking Hasan's number one off. He hates this guy."
Is it your sense that the Jewish people are getting complacent, that they are not engaging to degrees of levels that we should be? Jonathan Greenblatt says, I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre of October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized, but that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life. Cohen says, and whose responsibility is that? Greenblatt says, all of ours. But this is where we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace. And look, I fight anti-Semitism, that's my job, but I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity, as I think we talked about over lunch. And so I think it's really important that our synagogues, our schools, summer camps, all of our institutions and the federations and denominations and other groups that sort of manage them. And I think we need to look in the mirror and make sure that we're doing everything we can to adapt and to iterate and to be part of where the world is going, not just where the world has been. That's the full quote. So Jonathan Greenblatt is, so Chris Menahan, who Hasan Piker is quote tweeting. Oh, this is the question I want to ask Loner Box. Do you know who Chris Menahan is? Because I know that I know Pisco doesn't.
No, I don't.
I don't know what this is.
Okay, this is basically, I would describe Chris Menahan as a Groyper adjacent account. He basically, I mean, the tag.
Oh, Hasan has no care. He'll always retweet these people. He used to retweet a whole bunch of neo-Nazi accounts to attack me a long time ago. He might still do it.
Here, tag is publisher of independent news site informationliberation.com, seen on Drudge, Infowars, Zero Hedge, and more. America First. Basically, if you go to Chris Menahan's stuff, and you can do this for yourself. It is nonstop Jew, Israel, dual loyalty.
That's actually the funniest, or one of the funnier pieces of argumentation about that picture that I posted earlier, where the anti-Semitic talking points line up so well from neo-Nazis to far leftist people that you can literally retweet the accounts and it works 1-to-1.
Question. What is this conversation? Is it just convincing Pisco that Hasan has been anti-Semitic?
Basically, yeah, but it's Avi doing it, and Avi is very, very good and rigid. He is very intelligent, but he's also socially intelligent too. So he would have the best.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, but how the hell has Pisco not figured this out already?
Well, he's either autistic or politically dug in, or some combination of those two things, and Avi's trying to break through, I guess.
Zog, dual loyalty, etc. It's just slop like that. Now, this happens to be one example of what Chris Menahan mischaracterized in my view. So we're going to go through the mischaracterization first before we get to how this ties into some anti-Semitism. So he says ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt laments that intermarriage rates are continuing to rise among Jews. This turns out his anti-racist shtick only goes so far. So Jonathan Greenblatt is the ADL person. He's like, fight racism, fight anti-Semitism. And what he's saying is that, actually, hold on, Jonathan Greenblatt. Here you are lamenting intermarriage rates. Isn't that racist of you? Aren't you a racist? You're supposed to be fighting racism. And Hasan Piker says, the way Hasan Piker, he looks at this quote and says, no, that's not even going far enough. Let's go further. He said the 14 words, but Jewish. Do you guys know what the 14 words is?
No.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm really not trying to be mean.
The 14.
It's
I even know what that is.
That's one of the problems. I say this and it sounds mean, and I don't mean to make it sound mean. This sounds so weird to say, okay? But like in our community, I think people take for granted a little bit how much extended knowledge we have of politics in my community because we spent so much time fighting Nazis. It exposed us, I think, to a whole bunch of wider political stuff like just a huge gamut of political thought that like the average American is maybe not that clued in on. I don't know if the average American would know the 14 words, but if you spent any amount of time online dealing with like extremists, you would absolutely know what the 14 words are. There's so much stuff sometimes, I think, for Josiah too and Pisco, they just have like huge gaps sometimes in their politics knowledge, to where they're more akin to like an XQC or an Asmongold, where I know people don't like when I say this, but like these are intelligent people, but they just don't do research, they don't read enough stuff, and so they end up having like really wacky takes on things. And sometimes, I'm like, God, there's just like so much knowledge missing that would help flesh out some of these ideas so much more, but they just don't have it for whatever
But
reason.
then does Pisco not know what like the 1488 comes from or whatever? Like, is he just gonna? Does he not know?
I don't even know if he knows what that means. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever spent time like arguing with like these people or anything. Yeah.
All right. Loner knows the 14. So the 14 words is a well-known white supremacist slogan coined by David Lane. He was a member of the neo-Nazi terrorist group The Order. And that slogan is, we must secure the existence of our people and our future for white children. There's a secondary, less commonly used version, which is like something along the lines of, because the beauty of the white Aryan woman must not perish from the earth. So basically, it's great replacement memes. So what Hasan is saying is, Jonathan Greenblatt, what you just said is basically the 14 words, but Jewish. You're basically saying the 14 words that the neo-Nazi slogan, we must. You're basically saying the slogan, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. It's just the Jewish version of it. And because it's just the Jewish version of it, that's allowing you to masquerade as a civil rights organization leader.
I also think, I don't know if Avi will get into this or if he even tries to make this argument, or maybe he actually doesn't even believe it. I've said this before. There is an intentional effort to try to make everything that Israel does like Nazi-ish, to take that, because one of the big issues that, and I guess actually leftists are able to do this in a unique manner, one of the big issues that people run into, that Nazis and stuff run into when they try to fight against the Jews, is the Jews always have that Holocaust out. They always go, oh my God, I got Holocaust in, right? It's like, oh, these motherfuckers. And that's why one of the cornerstones of neo-Nazi adjacent beliefs is trying to downplay the Holocaust. It's because the claim is that, well, Jews always bitch and moan about the Holocaust because they think that gives them like a get out of jail free card, so we can never truly criticize them in the way that they should be criticized. So, fuck that. Actually, only 100,000 people died. It wasn't 6 million. That's a huge lie. Now, on the leftist side, they can try to get around this because they're not neo-Nazis, and they could just call the Jews Nazis. And now it becomes much harder for Jewish people to talk about the Holocaust or Nazism because, like, well, aren't you guys the new Nazis? And you can see this with, I feel like the cornerstone of this, or the foundation of this, will be built off of Finkelstein's The Holocaust Industry book. Is that what it was called? Where he basically lays out this argument that, like, I think Jewish people lean too much into the Holocaust in order to give Israel, like, an excuse to act in whatever morally deplorable manners it wants to. And I was like, okay, well.
Mm-hmm. So
he or Lerner went over this earlier. Oh, okay.
Couple things there. Number one, that's a mischaracterization. Jonathan Greenblatt actually never said that. He referenced intermarriage rates. He referenced that intermarriage rates as a explanatory factor along with assimilation. But he never lamented it, nor did any of his prescriptions actually involve doing anything about intermarriage rates.
Okay, but is referencing it? So, is the reference alone of note? I mean, like, suppose that you had someone who you're referencing marriage rates among white people or something like that. So talk about the kind of like, well, they may not have lamented in the way you're saying or prescribed regarding it, but
yeah, he referenced it as an explanatory factor for, and then what he said he worried about was the future of Jewish identity. Yeah, Jewish identity. Specifically said what I worry about is Jewish identity. Okay, so what Hasan and Chris Menahan are both doing here is they're both first of all, this is mischaracterizing. It's on multiple levels.
Oh, that's why I assume Pisco is an but you're hesitant to apply that label. I am over-acclimated to people who understand these dog whistles and the way these subversive groups work. So I failed to map out Pisco's state of mind, but he could be ignorant to that stuff. Yeah, kind of. I'm using labels. I'm being a lot more broad now with how I characterize people and behavior than I would like to be. And then hopefully once we're past this political moment, we can go back to not being as fucking cringe for everything online. But the biggest thing that is driving me crazy is just like the selective awareness, and I can't abide that anymore. In the past I could, because it's whatever, I don't care, I don't have any personal feelings, but like when I have like these chats of people calling me like he's got Cuban Miami diaspora brain or whatever, and I'm like, we're getting into levels of racism that like I don't see for like almost any other ethnic group, even on the right. Like you're getting into crazy worlds here. And then like people like Design Pisco are just totally silent or don't seem to give a fuck at all or aren't aware of any of this somehow. They never are aware of any of it. It's like too much. It's like, hold on, if we're like this game is getting old.
Characterizing Greenblatt's concern about Jewish identity and bringing up intermarriage rates as an explanatory variable of how identity is changing.
Can you pause real quick? And would you treat white identity different in that context? Like,
you're gonna have record docs at all. The snarkers think momentum has moved in their favor. Yes, one more last minute witness added on for sure. Well, absolutely. One more last minute witness. Tomorrow's our hearing. We'll see how it goes.
We need to protect white identity.
I mean, Discovery is still open, right?
Yeah, true. That apparently they've had this.
That's what they'd have you believe.
Since they've had this message since November, but for some reason, November 2024, but for some reason they didn't turn it in. And they also haven't told us where they got any of it from. And they haven't, like, it's just, yeah, okay. It's retarded.
Appius said I should be excited for this hearing because he thinks the judge is going to go off on him.
I don't know. The thing is, I never know how much the judge knows about the case, or if the judge sees it all, contemplates, ending it, and they're like, I don't know, kick it down the road. Yeah, it's just, we'll see.
So in this, if all else were equal, if someone were to say, if white people were 0.2% of the population, plausibly on the verge of extinction, not even recovered pre-Holocaust levels, and someone just meant like, hey, our white communities, I worry about like the broader implications about the identity, and I think we should focus on the schools. I think we should focus on the community. I think we should do that. Not really, and I wouldn't say that for any other minority, because in this hypothetical,
really, because I hear this, and maybe I'm out of a limb here, because like people will say this about like American Indian culture. We need to preserve American Indian culture, whatever. Yeah. And
wait, no, but Jonathan Greenblatt didn't say that. Wait, but he didn't say preserve. He didn't even say that. He didn't even say preserve. Yeah. He wanted to strengthen the. He didn't that even that he didn't say.
But if he had said I want to preserve Jewish identity.
Okay. Yeah. But even so, I would say. So here's I would say maybe there's a little bit there that I'm like, why maybe you can say, okay, well, you can take a view, even if you do take a view where it's like, all right, well, it's kind of weird that we want to preserve a racial identity. Like, why would we care about any racial identity, whether it's Indians or whether it's whites or whether it's Jews? Okay. Is it the 14 words? Is it the neo-Nazi Great Replacement? No,
I don't think if someone says they want to, if someone's upset, for example, they want to preserve Mexican identity or they want to preserve their whatever, I'm not.
And not even advocating by not intermarrying, not advocating by not intermarrying, by advocating for broader community, like broader community ties. So if someone said that, so first off, so the mischaracterization, this doesn't even get to the anti-Semitism, but the mischaracterization is this is nowhere near the 14 words.
Yeah.
The 14 words are great replacement memes. Like, they want a supermajority. They want a supermajority, and they want to, even at the point of force. At the point of force, at the point of, now, some will be more sophisticated, say, oh, well, we'll pay the non-whites to leave. Like, all of those prescriptions, like, that is not even remotely what's going on here.
And they have force at the end of it.
14 points implies a couple different things. One is, it implies intolerance for other groups. It implies a prescription, radical, drastic prescriptions, beyond which merely an in-group preference does not have, let's say, or an identity preference does not contain. And that there's a kind of like supermajority implication as well, that it's not just about minimally preserving some culture, but about like dominating and, okay.
Yes.
I think I'm tracking.
All of those are disanalogous. So number one, so all of that was just completely mischaracterized by Chris Mann and Hasan Abi. But notice what else Hasan Abi says. He goes further. And he can still masquerade as a civil rights organization leader. The implication being, if you give a nod, now we can say, oh, well, maybe Hasan didn't watch the clip or whatever. Okay, maybe. But at minimum, he's saying, if you support if you get, or even give a nod to endogamy, you are disqualified. Like, it's farcical that you are a civil rights organization leader.
And that's not true of the NAACP, and you wouldn't apply that.
Yes. That's an inconsistent standard. And notice, which two races is he applying that standard to?
Whites and Jews?
Jews and white people. Again,
white people.
Jews and white people. The prototypical two races that progressives are stereotypically racist against. We're back to Jews and whites. He has very clearly, he has no problem recognizing civil rights.
Black solidarity.
Malcolm X, even in the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X and his Nation of Islam. Even he has no problem recognizing that Malcolm X in the Nation of Islam days, who was a very strict endogamist. He was a segregationist. He loves Malcolm X. He has no problem.
People saying, isn't this the guy that defended Elon Musk's Sieg Heil? But put aside that whole thing. I don't know if you have views on it. I think we actually differ on that. But that's just irrelevant to this. It could be the case that this guy's inconsistent and sweeping for all that, and this would still be true. I think it would be your response.
Yeah.
What was Avi's take on the Sieg Heil thing? Because my take on it was that I don't think that Elon is a neo-Nazi, but he absolutely knew what he was doing. There's no world. The strongest point was the fact that he did it so blatantly, and he did it twice in a row. There is no world where, given all of the fucking loony accounts that guy retweets and associates with on Twitter, he knew what he was doing. But I don't know if he Sieg Heil or whatever. I don't think. Yeah. I'd be curious what Avi says about that. But my take, sometimes people see my take as a soft defense instead of a soft offense. They'll be like, oh, so you don't think he was trying to to signal to all of the Nazis out there that he's a Nazi? It's like, no, I think he wanted to signal that he's fucking edgy because he has the maturity of an actual 15-year-old boy, like, unironically.
Yeah. So my view on Elon Musk, I don't know why it's relevant, but sure. My view is that he was drugged up on ketamine, and he was drugged up on ketamine. He performed a motion that looked like Sieg Heil. He had rainbows coming out of his ass from the ketamine when he was doing it. And do I think he intentionally did Sieg Heil? I actually suspect not. What I do blame him for was that you have to be stupid after. You have to be stupid, and this does raise my credence about racism with Elon Musk, because after, when he came off the ketamine, druggie, the ketamine drug trip, it was very obvious how that looked. And someone with a brain
would apologize.
Would recognize how that looks.
Oh, Avi's bringing up this. Avi's bringing up this other view of, if you have an awareness of a thing and you're not doing anything to hedge against the awareness, then that says a lot about your internal mind state in and of itself. Somebody said, why is Elon not a neo-Nazi in your view? I don't know, actually, if I would defend that. He might be. But at the time when he was doing that, we've had now years. When you go on Elon's account, bro, that dude is fucking machine gunning out white nationalist retweets and crazy white replacement talking about everything. I don't know if he was doing it quite as much in the lead up to the election. And like appearances with Tommy Robinson and like all this weird UK restore shit. I don't know, bro. That shit is fucked.
And apologized for it. And he didn't. Not only did he not, he kind of memed about it. He pressed smiley faces and stuff. So
yeah. So you would say that in your view, Elon Musk is not truly racist too.
Yeah. Well, yes, not to the same degree as Hasan. Actually, I think the Hasan thing is worse on multiple levels, because I think it's much harder to deny.
Yeah. What about AFD support? Also, you're just saying the one incident there.
No. I'm just saying this one instance. I'm not talking about AFD support.
I just want to make sure people understand. He's not saying anything other than the one incident versus the one incident. Yeah. Not Elon Musk's broader.
I think this incident is worse than Elon Musk doing that Sieg Heil thing and not apologizing for it, because a number of reasons. The walk back was purely tactical, just like, and same thing with Elon Musk. But he had knowledge about it. Just like Elon Musk. But he also was.
When you're building stuff, do you use a factorial calculator, or do you just wing it? I think I just wing it, because there's so many, you beacon everything up and everything gets all fucked anyway. So, Seven Soul, thank you for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. Hey, Justin, quick Reddit moment from your subreddit. Is there a reason liberals should or should not just adopt the strategy of tactically lying, as that seems to be the meta right now? I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it. For liberals and in general, I don't have an interest in it. There are some lines that if I had to cross those lines, I would just be turned off from doing politics at all. And just like blatantly lying is, I don't know. I'm not interested in it.
He also lied about it. That's at least one thing Elon Musk didn't do. He didn't straight up lie about it. Also, the insult itself is much more direct. Like Hasan Piker was not on drugs, and then the drugs just happened to be like, oh, inbred asses is much easier to read than
you think he's more lucid? Yeah. Okay. Here's a question.
I will just one second. Just one bit of information about Greenblatt that is probably relevant is the only other time I've seen him ever talk about intermarriage was in 2019 when he was calling out the Israeli education minister who compared intermarriage to a second Holocaust. As in, like, he was saying that's a really bad thing to say. So, like, as far as I know, intermarriage is not.
He's making statements against endogamy.
Yeah, like he's
Yeah,
as far as I know, intermarriage and birth rates, all that, it's not even on the top 50 things that he seems to care about. Yeah.
Right. No, he's not. No, to be clear, Greenblatt is not an endogamist. Like, he's criticized endogamy. Like, Hasan Piker has completely misconstrued him. And he's not only misconstrued. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think the Sieg Heil thing, or the Roman salute thing, is that, just for me, given the reaction to it, regardless of him being high, which I grant that he was high or whatever, I think that it's just so obvious you need to do some ameliorative work. You need, like, to me, that raises my above and beyond even the inbred thing. But I think we can both agree, regardless of what you.
I feel like it's a little crazy that, because there's a world where you could conceivably do, especially in the right wing, and it is fucking cringe, but we could conceive of people who do that Sieg Heil shit. And I think I still do believe this, that when Elon did it, I don't think he was legitimately trying to be like, I'm, subtly alerting to the neo-Nazis that I'm on board with their shit now. I think he literally was just being a fucking loser who's like, oh, I'm so fucking edgy. Look at my Sig Heil. Like, I do genuinely think that was his view of the time. But it's crazy that Pisco would give so much weight just to that. But then everything else Hasan has done is like not factored in at all. I feel like that's a really selective.
We disagree on that they both raised beyond that threshold for each of us.
Yes.
So even if you disagree on that.
Sure. So we might quibble about what's more, but yes. Okay, cool.
There's a question here about Lonerbox. Lonerbox, is it true that you called Jewish settlers inbred on stream? And is that anti-Semitic?
I've probably called, I probably used inbred for like every fucking militant group I don't like in the region. So probably, but it's also, Islamophobic.
But I think it's also, again, I said it half joke. No, I don't know if I said it half jokingly earlier when somebody asked me about a Jew joke I'd made about Avi. Like, I think people know I'm not anti-Semitic. Like, I think I've done enough work in terms of fleshing out most of my political positions, my statements on Hebrew, everything else. Like, I think people should immediately understand whether or not, is Justin anti-Semitic? What did you think I'm anti-Semitic? Well, maybe a hardcore Zionist might. But like, generally speaking, I think I've done enough work there that my positions on that are not unclear. Same thing with Lonerbox. I don't think anybody listening to Lonerbox is ever genuinely coming away thinking like, man, this guy's really anti-Semitic. I don't think that's ever happening. So you're going to get, I think, a little bit more leeway there than somebody else who seems to be mega anti-Semitic.
Everything, yeah.
Lonerbox, have you ever used the term inbred for non-militant groups that are trying to avoid the military?
No, I haven't. No. I think the person I called inbred more than anyone else was that fucking war criminal who stopped me and Steven in the West Bank.
Hold on. So see the difference how that's harder to explain on other hypotheses, chatter? Like, see the difference how that's harder to explain? Lonerbox hasn't called anyone who's trying to avoid going into the military someone who's inbred.
So should not grant Elon being on high? I just think that he was high a lot during that time period, and there's been
he was high. Oh no, yeah, he was high. The reports were that he was high basically all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Like he had basically a profound addiction to ketamine, and you could see, like, by the way, it doesn't take a lot of, like, you don't have to be a doctor to see this. Like, he was just going like, I'm not gonna imitate his expressions, but if you look at his, you know what, maybe I will.
It was goofy.
If you go, he's like all that stuff. He was not there, very clearly. So, but yeah, still, no, I agree. Like, after you get lucid, like, holy hell. Like, you should address that.
And so the point here is,
Hasan was lucid all the time. Just to be clear.
Got it. The point here is where
if we refuse to lie, we can't beat them. Basically, is what this message is saying. I think you can win the media war without lying. You have to get the coordinated media thing going on.
Treating racial or in-group solidarity, whatever. First of all, we're misconstruing Greenblatt. That's doing some work for you, apparently, right, Avi? And there's go for it. Sorry.
I think his rates of because I don't see him coming out and comparing. Again, like, do I see the same sort of thing where Hasan Piker makes misconstruals for which he ends up coincidentally comparing concerns about Jewish community to neo-Nazi ideology? Do I see that to Palestinian solidarity? Do I see that with Arab solidarity? Do I see that with Black solidarity? No. I don't see him misconstrue that and compare it to Nazi stuff. That's one point of double standard. The other point of double standard is it's precluding being one's ability to be a civil rights leader in the Jewish context and white context.
I get Martin Luther King.
and now we get Malcolm X.
Yeah.
He recognizes Malcolm X as a civil rights leader who is way more strict of an indictment.
Oh yeah.
Who was a full-blown separationist in the nation, and he recognizes that he was a civil rights leader in the Nation of Islam days. So there's multiple points of inconsistency. And again, you could string up auxiliary hypotheses. No one's denying you could string up auxiliary hypotheses. For example, perhaps Hasan just craves out an exception for the civil rights era. Perhaps he really loves Malcolm X, and so he's carving out a special exception for Malcolm X.
Or he's pro-Muslim.
Malcolm X. Yeah, he's pro-Muslim. But regardless, notice what we have to do. Again, more mental gymnastics, more auxiliary hypotheses, to some degree independent. That's tanking our theory down. We have to go more and more. Again, we have to decrease our probability of our countervailing to avoid anti-Semitism.
I think it's also quite clear that if you... I don't know if either of you have seen this, but like, do you know how quickly Hasan will call you Islamophobic if you even say anything about not only subgroups of ours, but organizations in the Arab world? If you use the wrong language against Hamas, I think even if you probably called Hamas inbred, Hasan would call you Islamophobic for that. Or if you called them like barbaric.
I have not noticed that.
What does he watch? What does he do with his free time? He doesn't stream like 8 hours a day. How is he not familiar with anything? And I can understand him not being familiar with anything, but then if you're not familiar with anything, why have a strong opinion on any of it?
I will say though, there seems to be like a great deal of tolerance for significant amounts of anti-Muslim rhetoric. And like almost insensitivity to it among our politicians. Like, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's just all my vibes or whatever. But like, I think there's like a great deal of fucking, for example, when it's, who's this representative from, I don't know if it's from Florida, but they say like glass all the Palestinians, or when they say, all these people should be deported, or
meaningfully racist.
Yeah.
But he not grant this for
that Will Chamberlain
against like Israelis though?
Grant what?
Does he not think that there's like a ton of like it's super fine right now to be like anti-Semitic against Israelis?
Would he not grant that it's fine to be? Wait, or say I'm not understanding. Would who grant?
I feel like he's saying it. I feel like Pisco right now is saying that it's fine and like socially acceptable to be like Islamophobic right now in like politics.
Oh, sure. Oh, would he grant that?
Is he going to say this?
No,
Yeah.
because he would say people are anti-Zionist, and it's a different thing. Which is the escape they use, yeah.
Says, you know, Hasan should be deported and, you know, Mehdi should be deported and denaturalize all that shit. But I just think that Avi would bite the bullet there.
It's not a bullet. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a chocolate snack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I just
is.
don't think there's a disagreement there.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna go now that if we don't disagree that this is also evidence to meaningful.
It raises my credence, yeah.
Raises the credence.
Yeah, he called crowd Islamophobic. People. I'm sure you can find a billion tweets of him calling. Wait, what did I say? He called him what? Phobic? Islamophobic, right? Yeah. I fought against every single instance of MAGA's attacks, and I've been in the crosshairs more than once. The one time I make a lock him up joke about my Dem senator, that wasn't what was the joke, you fucking retard? I had to plug my nose and vote for you. The one time I make a lock him up joke about my Dem senator, I had to plug my nose and vote for, and your Islamophobic ass has to chime in all the way from EU, LeMayo. Oh, and then, yeah, there was that weird statement about,
everyone being like, Abdullah's a fuck ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the fucking take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of shit.
It's just so retarded.
Same Hasan Piker, who just last month pointed out to...
Oh, yeah, and when he talks about the 9/11 newspaper, he's like, oh, what, are you being Islamophobic? That's why I can't have the newspaper? Yeah, cringe. This guy is down like fucking 30 points or whatever, right? This Larkin dude has no chance of winning this race, right?
Is this the sort of thing we would get a normie wandering themselves into? You know, where we're all just a little bit racist, where we would expect a normie to say, you know, concerns about your own community and identity is Nazi shit.
I mean, I don't think so, but like here, I will say that there's something peculiar in my mind that stands out when someone says, "Oh, I want to like white identity, white this and that." I know there are confounding factors here, and it has to do with like they seem kind of ad hoc or arbitrary. Can you address that? Because like, or maybe it's not.
What's the issue that's being?
So like for example, if someone says, "I want to preserve whiteness, I want to preserve white," you know, we need to make sure that we're embracing white identity. I think that has a different ring to it.
Yes, it does, and
it has a different ring because of two things. One, it's hard to identify what even is like a white thing that you're trying to save, so it makes it feel less like you're trying to save something and more like you're just speaking with a exclusionary rule, right? We need to save the white race and the white culture. What does that mean? I don't know, but get all the browns and blacks out of here. It's like, okay, well, that's weird. So their inability to like ever identify what the white race is or identify like the culture that they want to protect, I think that kind of goes to hurting the arguments there, that there's some legitimate thing you're trying to protect, number one. And then the second thing is there is a strong factual foundation to the claims that you're making, such that if your claims are largely non-factual or fake or wrong, I think we would look at your claims a lot differently. Like if there legitimately was a group of people that was like moving through the West trying to kill all white people or some shit, it was like, and like a serious identifiable group of people doing this, and you were just saying, bro, we need to like stick together as whites and save the white race or whatever. Like I don't think that would be anywhere near as sus as when you're claiming like immigrants coming to the country are threatening the white race, because like, well, are they? Right? It just feels a lot different, right? So I think the factual part matters, that second part, and then the first part is like, if you can't even articulate what it is you're saving, it's going to make people look at you weird.
And there's reasons for that. I went over them. The reasons for that are when someone says that, they typically do not mean, and even if you're somewhat uncomfortable with 0.2% of the population just wanting to preserve their existence, even if you are, if you take the view, same thing for Native Americans. The reason it has a different ring to it is because when they say that, they don't mean that. They mean they typically mean that they want a supermajority at the point of force. They want they're oppositional to other groups. They want to force other groups out, or buy them out, and they view it as other races as an existential threat.
I'm just going through my.
So the symmetry breaker is what they mean by what they're saying.
Yes, they mean something very different.
Yeah.
Extremely different. Okay. So again, my going back to the degree, is this we're all just a little bit racist? Is this at the level? I'm not saying is this Hitler stuff, but is this we're all just a tad bit racist? You know, does a normal person who's a little bit anti-Semitic find themselves saying concerns about Jewish identity is neo-Nazi stuff?
No, I don't think so.
No. This is not just a little bit racist. And finally, for me, because rather than just going like spamming a whole bunch of stuff, I want to focus on
like three meaningful examples.
Yeah, just one more question about this last one. I don't know if you guys covered it when I was away, but there is also something kind of insidious about this idea of he said the 14 words, but Jewish, he can still masquerade as civil rights, right? As in, like, there's this kind of you often see neo-Nazis.
ZZ Top drummer Frank Beard, dead at 77. Rip.
Do this as well. They'll say that
this is a very common neo-Nazi
the thing that the Jews basically use their trauma of the Holocaust and exaggerate over, so that they can have a power and an ability to behave in a way that other groups aren't.
They don't allow it for white people.
Yeah, the Jew shield. Yeah.
Yep. This is neo-Nazi tropey as well. And by the way, it's coming from a Groyper adjacent account, so that's also not surprising.
All these things by default.
And by the way, there has been, this is a little tangential, but I think it's relevant. There have been, I don't typically do this. Like, there's some things where I will say I agree with this person who said a horrible thing. Like I agree with Tucker on this, or I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. But just be aware if we're taking issue with people like.
I went through Inbred on Filmon. It's mostly stuff like this.
You're called Israel, bro, and Zionism.
Because right. Thank you so much, you fucking inbred moron, for explaining what anti-Semitism is in the most succinct way possible. Yeah, they got chased out effectively. It's just. Well, that guy's Lebanese. I'm a self-hating.
Crowley.
That ring a bell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a conversation about that.
So that's. Yeah.
Which you guys should check out, by the way, folks. We're Consolidate channel. You should go follow them on Twitch and YouTube. Sorry.
Okay, and now the third example I wanted to bring is going to be, you know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the example you and North talked about.
One thing also is how quickly people go to weird racial insults for anybody defending Israel too. Hasan certainly never did this. Was it Bana Banata who was calling Loner Box like a Marionite to try to tie him to the fucking Chantilla and Sabrina massacre? I butchered that. I don't remember what the two things are or whatever from that Lebanese war. What was the was it just Bana Banata or did Hasan actually say that? I don't remember. I don't know if Hasan actually did.
Pig dog.
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring this one up.
No, I'm not going to focus on it. But it's not part of the evidence. It's weaker evidence. So here's the issue with the
Sabra and
the pig dog thing
Chantilla.
is a weaker case.
Sabra
the
and
case
Chantilla.
the case I'm making with it is very different than what North did.
Oh, called his parents phalangists, I think. Yeah.
So and if you're tracking my train of thought here, you probably can predict what my case is going to be. But a couple things. So number one, I mean the issue with pig dog is not that it's inherently an anti-Semitic slur, or even
you don't agree with North with that, and people say that.
No, it's not. It's not.
You agree with Hasan?
Nor am I convinced. Yeah, I agree with Hasan. It's not. It's towards capitalists. It's towards. It's towards. You can. It was even. I'm even willing to grant that it's a generic insult. That's all fine. It was on Shrek. You know, Puss in Boots is like you capitalist pig dog.
Yeah.
Fine. That's not the issue. So one thing that's not necessarily an issue is you should note that this is dehumanizing language, which in and of itself is not necessarily a problem.
We do that.
I don't take the view that dehumanization is inherently bad. Like for example, there's all sorts of dehumanization that I don't really care about. For example, calling Russian soldiers orcs, right? That happens. Does that bother me? Do I care about that? No. There are certain contexts where dehumanizing language actually might be a good thing. I don't care about that. Okay. What I'm interested in is how you're using that, what the context is. You should you should be number one. First of all, you should be careful about doing that. I want to qualify myself here. Whenever you're talking about an ethnic group or religion or anything like that, and you are talking about animals, you should be very careful. Now, there are still cases where dehumanization can be very defensible.
Yeah. In the case of, for example, I'll often say, about the MAGA elites, by which I mean people like Trump and JD Vance. I'll use language and we'll sometimes compare them to animals and shit like that. Like he's a dog, right? But there, I don't think you have an issue with that inherently.
Yeah. No, I don't have an issue with that inherently. So, but now I just have one little question, and it's the same question for every bit of evidence.
Does he apply it the same way to anyone who's not a white person or a Jewish person?
Yes, exactly. The answer is no. There's no clear example. There is no example. Is there any confirmed example where he has applied that to a non-white, non-Jewish person? And it's funny because his own community has gone through all the examples where he used it.
A lot of those people at the Trump rallies in the South, they might actually be inbred, though. At the Trump rallies in the South, might actually be inbred.
Jesus. Big hater over here.
And they are white people. And by the way, he's sarcastically, jokingly referred that to himself, which by the way doesn't count. He said he thinks he's white, but also that he wasn't using it as a slur in that context. He was joking around about it.
If you don't buy the white racism angle, does your whole case fall apart?
What?
If I don't what?
If people don't subscribe that he's racist against white people, does your whole case fall apart?
No, it doesn't, because even if you don't think he's racist against white people, you still have to explain why it's not other groups, why it's not non-white groups. Like he could. That can deflate the case a bit by saying, okay, well, there's clear examples of him doing it against groups he's not racist against, but it still doesn't explain why he's doing it vis-a-vis Jews versus the other groups. Like that's
someone's yelling, it's right wingers. Like, how has this not been said? But if you're just saying, well, he treats right wingers
only the white right winger, only the white and Jewish right wingers. Okay, so again, effect modifier. Like it can be an effect modifier. It can be a subset. So again, like if someone is using a slur against white right wingers, but only
white and Jewish
against white and Jewish right wingers, that is racist.
Chad, I think you have to grant that, right? Like if it really was the case that you only call a certain race, let's say you only call black. Have you ever had those analyses or these skits where Joe Rogan like only calls black athletes specimen, and they do this kind of thing the white guy's clinical, and the white guys, but then they always talk about black terms,
really
black people in these terms like
no, it's
specimen.
athletes. What do you mean? It's athletes. He's not being racist. It's athletes.
Yeah, I think you guys would all grant that, like, yeah, Joe Rogan's fucking racist when he does that shit. I think that, like, I'm not saying that he is hating of the race of black people, or that he knows it consciously necessarily, but I think that we're sensitive to the modifier account that Avi is providing. I think that's fair.
But it is the consistency that matters, right? Like, if you called basically anyone you don't like at any point from any country a pig dog, you're probably not using it in a racist way, right? That's good. Because I'm looking at my Filma right now, and I call so many different racial groups inbred, it turns out.
Inbred? Wait, Loaderbox, have you ever called a black person inbred?
Probably. There's like fucking over 100 mentions here, dude. Like, I probably
like,
there's a fucking like a Nation of Islam person. Or even the fact is though, like, even with the way that I'm saying, even in the sense that, like, even in the way that I use it, like, if this was like the only thing you knew about me, and I would probably even own that, like, sometimes I do just use racial humor. Like every Jew in my audience knows this very well, that I say shit.
But that's not the way. Yeah, but hold on. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about using the word inbred as a racial humor thing. Like, and that's clearly not the way Hasan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's also when you compile it with like the totality of everything else I talk about, it just doesn't sound.
No, he was using it he was using it with hate. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Hate, prejudice. Like, that's how. This was not like, the stand-up.
This is not.
Well, you can do hateful humor, right?
I don't think you can say it's ironic. I listened to that clip now, like 8 times. It doesn't sound ironic. It doesn't sound like a joke. I don't think that's a plausible case. And the way it was kind of defended and swept by Mehdi, I was joking, right? You'd expect, right, if this was a joke or if it was ironic, that would be the refutation. That would be, I just joke around.
Yeah. Instead, he lied about doing it, completely misconstrued it, or at minimum completely misconstrued it, and admitted the only admission of regret was tactical.
Yeah.
And then reframed it as he's the victim and it's the ADL's fault.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Good case, Avi. Okay. See, like, and I'm gonna take some umbrage with like, this is I feel, maybe I'm just fucking victimizing myself. I feel like I'm amenable to reasonable evidence. This same thing happened on the Marxist-Leninist point, and I just I think this is a good case. Now, that said, I don't put Hasan Piker in the same category as Nick Fuentes, and I think that you'd be crazy to do so, right? I truly don't.
And here's the interesting. There's the point. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't
Chat
need to.
Message, I can't.
What?
I can't say it out loud.
Say what?
Can you read my chat message? I can't say that argument out loud right now.
Oh. Did you message me? Oh, in DGG.
All right, just put in DGG, yes, sir.
I guess it's cause airport, but isn't this argument kind of retarded because you can just say, well, I call everyone faggots, so it's fine. I'm not using it towards just a certain group. Well, yeah, actually, but the argument holds there because we would say there were probably a ton of people that used that weren't actually homophobic, but like we would argue that, well, where this word comes from and then the kind of culture that it plays into, and then people are homophobic that use, that's why we say we don't do those things anymore. That's why I was saying before that, like, because I started to heavily reconsider this like anti-Semitism thing when I first thought about it. That's why I came out so much stronger about it afterwards, because I started to realize that the way that I conceptualize anti-Semitism, the way that I talk about this, I would never, ever, 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 ever make all these same considerations for any other group of people. Like, I would just say, like, oh no, this is probably racist, this is probably homophobic. It would just be that simple. So I think that's the thing that, like, kind of changed my mind a lot on it. Yeah. So, like, yeah, you would say anybody using, like, homophobic slurs is I don't even know if you would say contributing to homophobia. I mean, theoretically you could. If you want to get very, like, academic about it or clinical about it, you could say they're just contributing to homophobia. But generally speaking, most people just see that person as being homophobic, especially if you're aware of your contributions to the homophobia. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm only paying half attention, though, but it seems like Pisco's taking a way that, like, oh, well, if you just do it towards everybody and you don't do it towards one particular group, then it's not bad.
Sure.
I feel like that's how he's taking it away right now, which isn't what we're trying to, which isn't what it should be.
True. I would say, though, oh my God, that argument isn't necessarily false. I think that the issue is, hold on, I have to lodge this. Wait, I think we would view it a lot differently if Hasan used these insults towards more groups of people, and if Hasan didn't pearl clutch so hard when it was used towards groups that he wanted to defend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
So,
yes,
for instance, one of the reasons why the comedy crew is so annoying with all of their anti-Biden jokes, it's not because they make anti-Biden jokes, it's that they never make anti-Trump jokes. And it's like, oh my God, like, you're really gonna pearl clutch so hard about any anti-Trump jokes when you guys make anti-Biden jokes constantly, right? Like, it feels cringe. It feels like there's a double standard there. And I think the double standard thing is the thing that people are keying in on that's so annoying.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't know if I exactly agree. I just think that we should be more taking away from this conversation that, like, using these type of slurs is probably not a good thing. And I feel like Pisco is going to take away that if Hasan starts using it at more groups, that actually Hasan's not being anti-Semitic anymore, or something like that.
Maybe, but also I don't think Hasan will, so you don't have to think about that. But yeah, I know what you mean.
As someone who is non-trivially meaningful, someone who is meaningfully anti-Semitic.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, no, I think that all follows.
Okay. And now, since we've gotten agreement on this, we should talk about something that's even worse than anti-Semitism.
Anti-Zionism?
Anti-Zionism.
You're saying rabid
anti-Zionism? Rabid anti-Zionism. Okay.
So talk about it.
Ooh, this is an interesting one because this is my argument for I don't even know where I was going to go with this, but like one of the things that's funny is that you can be anti-Semitic and hate Jews, and it's whatever. But if you're anti-Zionist, you don't just hate Jews here. You don't want Jews to live anywhere in their own country, which is an interesting thing. Is there a way to get this to dump? So I dump calcite when there's too much extra on the belt. Is there a way to dump the iron ore with the same hand, with the same inserter? Oh no, wait, it doesn't matter. I just need more. Oh, it's the ice thing that's fucking me. Never mind. Forget everything I just said.
So here's what
People are going to say that I'm an Israel op. You realize that? Because I'm even platforming Avi.
Welcome to the club. Join the Mossad. Okay. So here's what I want to draw attention to something. Okay. Do you know when you hear Ben Gvir say some crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
What?
Everyone has no one. Now you could frame that. There's a way of framing the Ben Gvir stuff as, well, I condemn Ben Gvir for his anti-Arab bias. It's like, do you condemn Ben Gvir? Yeah, for his No. Someone could say that. I'm just saying someone could say that.
Sure.
I condemn Ben Gvir, which is true. Like in the context of the things Ben Gvir said, like there was I think in 2007 there was a chant where he's like death to Arabs or something. Like he has anti-Arab bias.
I forget the shooter guy that he put the image of. And he comes from like the Kahanist tradition, right? You're Kahan.
Right. That being said, I don't think anyone normal who's paying attention only condemns Ben Gvir merely for anti-Arab bias.
Of course not.
It's not merely. No one has a problem recognizing that Ben Gvir is a rabid Zionist. It's not just a Zionist, he's a rabid Zionist. He has a very toxic, extremist, toxic, and dangerous ideology, dangerous variant of Zionism. Okay? Do you remember the shooting? Do you remember the shooting in New York with the Israeli diplomats?
Mm-hmm. The shooting, was it in New York or DC?
Sorry, DC, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah.
DC.
Embassy staffers.
Mm-hmm. Anti-Semites, spreading lies.
Yeah, there you go, spreading misinformation. Okay, so do you remember how like all the progressives condemned this?
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, they did. But how did they condemn it? How did they condemn it?
False flag.
It was like
false flag.
This is the kind of shit that happens when you let a genocide fester.
No.
Or that they'll say it was Israel's fault, kind of, which is really weird.
There were definitely those. Yeah, there were definitely those. No, I'm talking about the more polished ones, like AOC and stuff. How did AOC condemn it?
This is a big problem.
It's anti. I condemn the anti-Semitism. I condemn the anti-Semitism.
Oh, never mind. He's talking about the political leaders. AOC,
is there an anti-Semitic component to what happened? Sure. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to stake out a ground and deny that there was an anti-Semitic component to it. Like the target was clearly Israeli. The target was clear on the basis of them being Israeli. Not, maybe Jewish had something to do with it. He did go into a synagogue, and so that was reckless of just going into a synagogue with a gun. So yeah, there is probably an anti-Semitic component to that. But if you actually look at the facts of that case, this is way more anti-Zionist in motivation than it was an anti-Semitic motivation. It's probably both. But only the anti-Semitic component
was called out.
Gets called out. And I think that's
wait, pause. The act itself is also called out in virtue of it being
the act itself. Yes, for sure. But the ideologies that got called out was only the anti-Semitism, not the rabid, toxic anti-Zionism.
Okay, now
the question is what
do you mean by toxic rabid?
Yes, yeah,
it's toxic rabid anti-Zionism, such that like you want to kill a person just on the basis of them wanting to have like a country for themselves. But then again, this gets like really weird. Oh man, there's like, and a lot of this is just beyond me, like arguments for self-determination of a people is just a thing that we just don't, I think, intuitively deal with much as Americans, because I mean, we just don't, I don't know, we have our own country, we don't like have an ethnic orientation for it, but I think that we consider it.
I think it's because we're a melting pot.
What? A melting pot? Well, yeah, sure, but just more so that like everybody kind of has a place here, because if you're in America, you're an American, and like that's it. But other people, like Kurdish people, don't have their own state. I don't know if you would ever have a slur for a Kurdish person who wants their own state, though. I'm sure in Iraq they had them. But I don't know if you would actually have a slur for these people. So it gets really weird to try to say. This is why I said before, and I said it was like a more advanced argument, that like you could tie anti-Zionism to anti-Semitism, because it seems weird that we have a disagreement so strong that we can judge a whole group of people based on the desire for them to have a state. But I feel like that really only ever applies to Jewish people. I don't know if that ever applies to any other group of people in a state. What?
Is it a hot take that the Kurds should have their own state?
Yes.
Like, is that a hot take? Why?
Where should they have their state at?
Where? Well, I mean, where are they right now? Aren't they like near
They
Afghanistan and Iraq?
They occupy huge parts of northern Iraq.
And like Turkey, I guess,
Northeast
too, right?
Syria, southeast Turkey, yeah. But there would necessarily be like a fracturing of that state then. Are you going to tell Syria and Iraq that they need to cede territory then to a new group of people? And then what counts as a people that want to be self-determined, right? Because there are other ethnic groups as well. Do the Druze get a state? There's, yeah, I don't know. It's
I mean, I can think of a city that I think that Israel just bombed to the ground that they could go move to.
Well,
Pepe.
Good one.
Same, analogously, it's the same sort of thing I'm referring to by rabid toxic Zionism. The same, so when it gets into a form of extremism, where it is dangerous, it is spewing with hatred, it is calling for supporting terrorism, supporting violence, justifying terrorism, those sorts of things. In the same sort of way that Ben Gvir, when he supports settler violence,
uses Zionism
is Zionist, yes, and gets rightfully called out as a rabid Zionist for that. People who are rabid anti-Zionists, rabid anti-Zionism that sweeps for terrorism, supports it, where the anti-Zionism.
It's a stretch, Avi. I want to respond. So this is what I think. Anti-Semitism has been conceptualized. It's something in the zeitgeist. It's something that people, as a bigotry in and of itself, it's something that's taught about. It's something people are warned against, right? It's something that.
Wait, when you say it's a stretch, what do you think is a stretch? What do you think
the notion that the people would think to condemn the rabid anti-Zionism aspect.
No, I'm not. Yeah, they may not think about it. I'm not saying it's their fault that they.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's clear. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying they're like, because I think this has been an insidious thing that's happened over time. To be clear, I'm not saying it's like you're condemnable for not recognizing the rabid anti-Zionism. That's not what I'm saying.
But the thing is, I'm sorry.
Your nuclear reactors, do these work less good on Aquila? Why do I feel like I'm out of power?
Maybe I have an issue with it,
yeah. Wait, what do you think I'm saying? You need to know what I'm saying before you have an issue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm saying, this is a call for a prescription. I'm calling for a prescription to be.
Okay.
So what I am saying is, I'm saying, when we see support for terrorism, when we see actual terrorism, that might be mostly motivated by Zionism. Here's what I think we should make an effort to do. I think we should make an effort to have an avenue where it is okay to condemn rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism. It doesn't preclude you from also condemning it as anti-Semitic. You can do that too. But I think we should be more sensitive to rabid, toxic, dangerous forms of anti-Zionism and to condemn it as such. That's my prescription.
Any more way than I would condemn, for example, the lefty transgender shooters and be like, this form of transgender ideology that is so rabid in favor. Like, I get it. No. Is it a strong prescription? I mean, like, there could be a calculus.
Because here's what I've noticed. Here's what I noticed. Here's the importance. Because if you don't have that avenue, what ends up happening is, not consciously, people are going to tend to think that in order for them to condemn it, they're going to think, well, how do I fit this into anti-Semitism so I could condemn it? I'm saying you don't need to fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it and to have a word for it, to call it, to pick it out as the rabid form of anti-Zionism that it is and to condemn it as such. I'm not saying you must do this. Yeah, I'm not saying it's like.
Yeah, but you say the same thing about like forms of transgender affirming ideologies that are rabid and are calling for potential violence.
Yes, especially no. So I think yeah. So the answer is yes. I think we should.
The only difference is that we don't have like
the difference is.
I was going to say the difference is we don't have like a mainstreaming of the pro-transgender affirming care ideology leading you into a path where you end up justifying targeting of civilians. Whereas with rabid anti-Zionism, you do have that.
But we'll just distinguish. Wait, hang on a second. But then, Avi, are you suggesting that like?
Wait, what's the question? Hold on. Just be clear. What exactly are you asking me, Pisco?
I'm asking. So you're not saying that any particular commentator fits into that bucket of like this rabid anti-Zionism that you're sort of condemning. Or
I'm not. So I'm not saying that. I do think so, but that's not what I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
I'm talking about So what I'm talking about is a phenomena that I've noticed. I've noticed something, and I think other people have noticed it too, where you have an action that has like both components: rabid anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism in some combination.
Okay.
Many times it's even more heavily weighted on the rabid anti-Zionism in motivation compared to the anti-Semitism. Sometimes it's like
where the anti-Zionism is the more motivating force for whatever conduct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's the more motivating force of the conduct. And I see time and time again, those actions only get condemned in virtue of their anti-Zionism, not in virtue of their rabid anti-Semitism.
The opposite.
The opposite. Yeah, you're right. I misspoke. Yeah. Only get condemned in virtue of their anti-Semitic component and nothing about the rabid anti-Zionist motivations there. And what I'm saying is, I think when an issue is 90-10, rabid anti-Zionist, terrorist shit, 10% anti-Semitic, I think the anti-Zionist component should be condemned too. The rabid aspect of it.
Yeah. So I think that's trivial, but I would just apply that to Democrats who, like, so for example, people have said about Destiny with respect to commentary on the shooting of Trump or the attempted assassination. People said calling Charlie Kirk a fascist or calling Trump a fascist. You're contributing to a culture that is causing these left-wing violent attacks on, for example, Charlie Kirk and assassination attempts on Trump. And so you're rabid anti-Trumpism, you're rabid anti-MAGA. And so walk me through that. Is there any kind of...
Is there another... So yeah, no, so I...
So that's... I don't want to say that's telling. Never mind. that's a bad comparison because I'm never wrong about anything. That's a bad comparison because now you're taking a thing that all of us agree is super negatively loaded and should be, and then you're comparing it to the Jew Zionist thing, right? So like, well, if you're going to call them Jewish and it leads to violence, then can you call these people fascist if it leads to violence? It's like, well, hold on. If I know that calling somebody Jewish leads to violence, that would make me significantly hedge there. I think Jewish people are not people that you should just be violent towards. Now, for fascists, I also don't think you should be immediately violent towards fascist people as well, or people that you identify as fascist. So like, you can make an argument about some hedging that you should do there, which I do a ton of, mainly because I don't want to get fucking assassinated when I go out. But you're talking about a different class of stuff there, a different character of things, because at the very least, you might not want people to murder fascists, but you don't want people to be Islamophobic or anti-Semitic, but you do want people to be like fasciphobic. Like, you don't want people to like fascists. You are trying to get people to dislike fascists. You're not trying to get people to dislike Jews or Arabs or Muslims as a whole, right? So this is a different character, a different classification of thing that you're talking about here.
So I agree about all. I'm not sure I'm going to disagree about all that, but what I'm noticing.
Oh,
is
one's like a people, and the other is like an ideology.
Doesn't
right?
matter. Like, if I mean Christianity or whatever, I'm just saying that like you like, my goal when I talk about fascism is I want people to not like fascism and not like fascists, right? Like I'm trying. I want that to be negatively loaded. Now I imagine Hasan and other people say, well, you don't want people to dislike all Jews, right? So that's a difference in kind there. And actually, I think people like Hasan would know this, and Vosh, this is why they try to say that like Zionism is fascism. Zionism is a neo-Nazi ideology or adjacent because it's like ethno-supremacist. So they are trying to negatively load that thing.
Into a different pathway. So the rabid anti-Zionism is getting shifted. It's trying to get fit into anti-Semitism so we could condemn it. That's the phenomenon I'm noticing. So with the rabid anti-Trumpism, what's the shift? What do you notice it being fit into something else so that it can get condemned?
Yeah, I guess I'm not noticing it being shifted. I mean, maybe like
so that's the phenomenon I'm talking about. I'm talking about the shift. Yeah, the phenomenon I'm noticing is that there's a form of rabid hate that is causing terrorism, that is resulting in terrorism. That terrorist that's motivated in a form of rabid hate, where it is getting shifted into a type of other hate and condemned, so it can be condemned as such. That's what I'm noticing.
And if that's what you're condemning, I guess that's fine. But like, the prescription wouldn't be use less harsh critique. It wouldn't be like fundamentally change, except to the extent that which you substantively disagree. Obviously, you would have your view on that. But like, for example, when someone tells me you should change your rhetoric about fascism with respect to Trump, because don't you know, it's just kind of, you're motivating all these people to go do these acts of violence against Trump supporters and Republicans. I say, fuck you. I'm not going to change my rhetoric because.
Oh, that's a really bad take in my opinion. There's two big parts of this. One is, well, if you're saying it's going to give people a bad view of them, good. That's the goal. You don't like these people. You do want people to have a bad view of them, number one. But number two, if it really was leading to mass violence, but then I guess maybe it just comes to a big content creator, or small content creator. I don't know. Like, every time there's a mass shooting, every time something happens, or any shooting or whatever, or political assassination, like, I always think, how would I feel if this came from my community? Like, would I be happy about that, or would I be not happy about that? And where I'm at right now, at least for my politics, I would be not happy about that. So I speak out against these things because I don't want any of these people to come from my community. So I will try to hedge, like, well, you shouldn't be violent against these people. Obviously, like, we shouldn't be having political assassinations in the United States because it's not good. That should be a thing that is immediately obvious that you should give on, that you don't want political assassinations coming from your community. So you do want the rhetoric to make people understand that you don't like these people and hate these people, and you should have other people hate these people, but you don't want them to be killing these people. I don't know if that makes sense.
Because
I don't see how I don't see how. Wait, but what is? I'm a little bit confused.
I'm basically asking. The prescription is with respect to the shift and putting it in the category of anti-Semitism. It's not with respect to the commentary substantively, putting aside your disagreements.
Yeah, I'm saying here's my prescription is when you see a terrorist act that is committed, 90% motivated by rabid anti-Zionism, 10% is anti-Semitism. The correct thing to do there is to condemn it as rabid anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic.
And don't claim it's just anti-Semitic. Okay, got it. All right. Yeah.
Yes, that's my prescription.
Okay, all right. No, I think that's fine to acknowledge reality. I guess I see what you're saying. Is like, people are denying that there's a causal link between these acts and the motivation of these people, and kind of like, in that way, that's not being counted or something. It's not being accounted for.
And do you see how that's normalized? When that gets normalized, where it's like, oh, every politician, when a terrorist attack that's 90% motivated by rabid anti-Zionism and 10% motivated by anti-Semitism, all the politicians feel the need to only condemn the anti-Semitic component. What are the consequences of that? You see what might happen as well. Yeah.
So what I imagine would be like, is for the people who promote anti-Zionism, for them to be like, listen, guys, I know you hear what we're saying, but this is bad. Like, we don't want you to take it this far. You might expect to see basically, why is this motivating for you to give that
what might happen if they don't do that? What might happen if it doesn't get condemned? What might happen is they get a free pass for all sorts of fucked up shit, so long as they can hide the anti-Semitic component well enough. They being the rabid anti-Zionists. They're just going to get away with anything, and people are going to be like, can I condemn this? Well, hold on. How do I fit it? Can I fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it? Maybe, maybe not. How do I do that? And I'm not going to condemn it until I can fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it as no, condemn it as, you don't need to fit it into anti-Semitism to condemn it as rabid anti-Zionism. And if everyone acts like they do, if a whole bunch of people act like they need to do that shift in order to make a condemnation and call this shit out, that's going to lead to a whole bunch of bad consequences. Like you're just giving them a free pass. Rabid anti-Zionists get a free pass so long as they're savvy enough to stay away from being anti-Semitic.
Right, like, wouldn't the response, if you call them to account or whatever, let's be like, well, listen, we never endorsed these kinds of attacks. Yes, we have a lot of these ideas, but we stand firm behind them. We just haven't encouraged this shit, and so we're going to condemn it. And so, all right, he's motivated.
My prescription, that's fine. My prescription is to condemn it as such. Condemn rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism. That doesn't mean you can't also condemn it as anti-Semitism. To the degree that it is motivated by rabid anti-Zionism, condemn it as such.
Yeah, but I understand. Like, why do you think that that's going to have any kind of effect either on how anti-Zionists are perceived, or what, you know, the easy step that one would do if you were a rabid anti-Zionist and you were being held to, quote unquote, held to account, which is just to say, like, I never.
If the culture is different. No, if the culture is, because now if people are much more comfortable condemning you as a rabid anti-Zionist, then you don't have the cover of Zionism. Then anti-Zionism is not cover anymore. You have to avoid being a rabid
anti-Zionist. I don't support violence generally, and I have.
That's fine. That's okay. Then great. Then that's fine. I'm talking about a non-rabid Zionist.
Oh, rabid is defined in terms of encouraging violence. Okay, all right.
Encouraging violence, supporting terrorism, being a super extremist, like same with Ben Gvir. Same standard with Ben Gvir.
Or even making like an example, like making a permission structure for exclusionary and demonizing behavior, right? Like, for example, when going back to Mr. Piker, saying that anyone with any kind of Zionist tendency should be treated as a rabid neo-Nazi. I think that's why, like, this was the problem I was talking about earlier.
I think he was saying, like, they shouldn't even have jobs in society. The most they should be allowed to do is, like, walk dogs or something. Jesus.
I was saying that maybe it is better to understand extreme anti-Zionism as like its own form of bigotry in the same way that we understand Islamophobia to being separate from being against the religion of Islam, right? So I don't know why you're shaking your head, but I'll get to it in a minute. Like, but this is why, like, with Rodriguez's manifesto.
What? Oh, that was Pisco.
Islam, right? So I don't know why you're shaking your head, but I'll get to it in a minute. Like, but this is why, like, with Rodriguez's manifesto was anti-Zionist. 100% of that manifesto is anti-Zionist. It had nothing to do with Jews, really.
Don't doubt it.
But that's why you get this phenomenon where you're like,
it was condemned. It was condemned as anti-Semitic, not anti-Zionist.
Yeah, sure. No, I get that. I just, to the extent there's some other, don't like ignore ideological motivations, and don't call the ideological motivations that do exist something else when they don't. That's fine. I just like go ahead. Sorry.
So part of with Hasan Piker. You know, I actually do see Hasan Piker as a rabid anti-Zionist when he supports terrorism, when he supports terrorist attacks on the Galaxy, for example, like what was that?
Galaxy Leader or whatever.
No, this is in the Red Sea.
Why doesn't it just merge with the underlying issue? Like, would you call yourself a rabid Zionist if given?
I don't support settler attacks. I don't support terrorism.
Okay, but let's say state action that you, or war crimes or something like that.
I don't support all this. I don't support all this.
You support war crimes?
Okay, you do support and tolerate some amount of civilian death and virtue of legitimate.
Yes, but that's okay. Yeah, just like with any other country. Yes, sure. But that's not. Wait, but that's not rabid. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
and that's not what I'm talking about. Wait, but that's not what I'm talking about.
That's a harder international law. Hot take. Everybody probably supports some level of war crimes because it's by the rules. There's a lot of like gray areas right now. Yeah, we don't see anything from the Russian side. I don't want to talk about this too much because I love my Ukrainian people, and I don't think it's necessarily as big of a deal. But like, one rule is that you're not supposed to kill somebody who is surrendering to you. You can't do that. That's considered a war crime for people that are no longer parties to combat. You can't kill them if they're surrendering. So always to combat people, right? Now retreating, yes. Surrendering, no. But there's kind of a weird thing about can you surrender to a drone, right? And I don't know if there's ever been any rulings on this. I know a lot of people have written about it. But in some of the videos we see for the Russian people, they're like surrendering or trying to, like, as a Ukrainian drone is flying towards them. If that was a person killing them, you would argue that is obviously you're killing a surrendering person. That is a war crime. But if but the idea of like, can you surrender to a drone? I mean, could you? I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I think it gets hard because like, is now the drone expected to like take you all the way back in custody, etc.
Like how would you facilitate the capture and all of that would be difficult. Yeah.
It needs to be answered, though. I agree.
Maybe, yeah.
Rabid anti-Zionist either. If rabid anti-Zionists just said, "Hey, I support some amount of civilian death," as if Palestine and Israel went to war together, I support some amount of Israeli death. That's not what I'm talking about for rabid anti-Zionism. I'm not talking about that.
Can you support military opposition in the current context against Israel?
Yes,
in Palestine
without being a rabid. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes,
people are saying they do escort drones now to capture people.
For example, if Israel and Palestine went to war, and someone supported Palestine, and they said something along the lines of, "Okay, there's some amount of civilian Israeli deaths." In my analysis, I grant that it's not. I don't like it. I'd rather it didn't happen. But given all the factors, I think that it is. It wasn't. It's not a violation of what's okay? So either proportionality, as my understanding of proportionality, or it wouldn't be a violation of what's the other? I'm blanking on the
discrimination, proportionality.
Yeah, the other.
We've been going for 5 hours, so that's okay. Yeah.
We're going 5 hours.
There's 3 big ones for targeting. You have to target only military people. If you kill civilians, that has to be proportional to the end goal of your mission. 1, 2. There's a third one. Those are the 2 big ones. There's a third one, right?
Principle of distinction?
Distinction, yeah. That's
distinction.
Distinction. Yeah, it's so they say, okay, I don't think it's a distinction violation. To whatever degree it's a proportionality violation, I don't like that. I'd rather that didn't happen.
Why can't you say that?
Because proportionality is incredibly vague, and nobody has ever specifically defined it ever. Like, can you kill 50 civilians to kill 1 general? That's left to the discretion of the country who's attacking to decide.
Because they did. Because they did. Oh, you know why you can't say that Hamas has? Oh,
no, stop. Just pause. Yeah. Why can't you say that? I wish Hamas wouldn't target civilians. I wish they would October 7th. I wish they would just attack military targets.
No, you can. No, you can say. Okay, no, you can say that of Hamas and Hezbollah. Now it happens to be they violate all of those principles.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah. So if someone, So one important difference is like one thing that the IDF has not done, that I've seen, that Hamas and Hezbollah, that Hamas certainly has done, is summary executions. Like that's the biggest principle to me. That's one of the biggest principle of indifference violations. Where summary execution, you have them in your. This is not like.
But that's the merits issue. That's the issue of the facts. Avi. Yeah.
Yes, that's the issue of the facts. Yeah. Someone can say that. Someone can say that. But I would also expect them to be like if they are like if they were rabid, like if they were like doing the infinite sweep. No matter what they do, they say, "Oh, I just wish they would do better." Like and they're while they're summary executing people. Like, yeah, I still support them.
Gaza, or
wait. That's like a very wishy-washy. I'm sorry. Like the reason that you can't do the same with regards to Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and their current actions is because when it comes to why that's rabid is just because if you think about the irrationality of it, like the Houthis last week blew up a boat in the Red Sea that killed I think 4 people, right? 3 Pakistanis, 1 Indonesian, and then 2 more rescue workers from the Yemeni official government died as well in a later strike. They killed 6 people, I think, who were probably all Muslim actually from the countries they come from, the majorities. So. By contrast, the Houthis have killed 1 Israeli since October 7th, 1 Israeli civilian. They've killed 6 times more Muslims than Israelis since October 7th in this one single strike. And it's the fact that someone can be so hateful against Israel and so rabidly anti-Zionist, so irrationally anti-Zionist, that they are willing to give a pass to probably the most murderous groups in the region, the Axis, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Hezbollah, by the way, they don't really fight Israelis either. They fight Syrians. They helped Assad murder like 200,000 of them. So
at least
this is like when you get to a point of hating a country so much and a group so much that you are willing to tolerate and just sidestep some of the most brutal behavior in the entire region and some of the most racist behavior, because again, what's their slogan? Curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam. Then that's where it becomes rabid in a way that like even like a support for the IDF or saying like, oh, I wish they wouldn't commit the excesses, but it's worth it. Like that's different, right? In the same sense that also like
I'm not convinced of that. If you think it's the lesser of 2 evils, like and I presented this before, if the Ukrainians were committing war crimes, let's say in equal magnitude to the Russians or proportional to the Russians, or that the overall Ukrainian army, and I know we got a lot of flack for saying Azov before, Azov is all. I'm saying assume that they were anti-Semitic across the board. I'm not saying all of Azov is anti-Semitic. To be clear, if you took that view, you could still be consistent and say I'm still supporting Ukraine in light of their resistance to the the greater threat of Russia.
That's fine.
Well, we have a real world example of this. We have a real example of this. Like everyone supports the Allies in World War II, right? The Allies committed a shit ton of war crimes that would put everything that's happening in the modern day to shame. Okay, they had yes, but my point is they had a just cause. Hamas's cause is to destroy a country. That's not a just cause. Hezbollah's is to destroy 2 countries, apparently. Yemeni.
I don't want to convert, and Avi will respond to this, and I know he'll have to say, but I don't want to convert an issue of the justness of a conflict, convert that into bigotry if both sides are, or conversation about bigotry if both sides are willing to make the concessions vis-a-vis, whatever caveats are needed for.
So let me just respond to what you said. Let me respond to what you said about the like leveling up. Yeah. So first of all, I actually don't think. And I'm consistent on this. I don't think summary executions is at the same level of buildings getting leveled. I don't believe that. But furthermore, in principle, I don't even disagree with this. Like in the sense that yes, someone can say, I support Palestinian resistance. I abhor every single thing they've done. I abhor like basically all October 7th. I abhor the way they conducted summary executions, the way they targeted civilians, the way they kidnapped civilians, the way they paraded a baby's dead corpse in one of the hostage exchanges. All of that stuff. They condemn it. That's fine. I don't even know if I would consider them if they were really like that. And there was just like, but man, Israel is just like so bad, and like the conditions are so bad. Like, what else are we going to do? Even that is like not the sort of thing I'm thinking about when I think about rabid anti-Zionist. The sort of thing I'm thinking about was when they look at attacks and they're like, yeah, that's justified. Yeah. Like as they see the Houthis take over the ship and be like, yeah, it's gonna.
This is what makes some of the statements that Hasan has made so fucking disgusting, and the sweeping from so disgusting is that like in a I don't want to say in a vacuum. Hasan's statement about like the don't even matter when he said that technically what he was saying is in a vacuum it is defensible. He was saying that even if there were on October 7th, that wouldn't justify Israel genociding the Palestinian people, if you thought a genocide was going on, right? Which is, strictly speaking, not even strictly speaking, that's just true, right? You can't, just because soldiers do a bad thing, even if it was systematic, you can't use that to justify, the genocide of other people. But when so much of the rest of the rhetoric just seems to so gleefully celebrate violent actions, it calls into question the sincerity of like, well, how much do you actually care about any of this other shit? It seems like you really are just like cheering on terror attacks, which I would say they do. Yeah.
Save Palestine.
That I agree with. But if you actually thought that there was a connection between the seizure of that ship, let's say a civilian ship, and let's be honest, like Trump right now, he's seizing ships. He's imagine if he were to take a civilian, I don't know, boat, or stop an Iranian boat, or whatever it is that we're sort of equating, and it were like conducive to the war effort or something like that. I think if Israel.
So then there's a reasonable degree of expectation, because Ben Gvir could also have like a belief that taking over the West Bank and taking over Palestinian homes is conducive to the war effort, or conducive to like broader greater goods. Yeah. So then I have a reasonable degree of reasonable threshold in terms of like whether I'm going to consider this person, because someone could be a rabid anti-Zionist by being like an intellectual underhanded sweeper like that. Like they can always get the plausible deniability and be like, oh yeah, with every terrorist action is justified.
No, but Avi, your actual standard, all right? So like, take World War II, World War I, where you had U-boat, interceptions by Germans attacking shipping that went from America to the United Kingdom, let's say. They made a calculation in that context that these are part of the war aims. Now, listen.
No, I'm talking about when it isn't, when it's reasonably, when it's not, and it's reasonable, and it's expected to reasonably not contribute to the war aims.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No,
there's a separate question of the just. Yeah. There's a separate question of the just cause. But minimally, if it is not, I don't think it is reasonable to, with the public knowledge available, to think that boat is conducive to the war aims.
To drop the atom bomb on Hiroshima.
No, that's plausibly conducive to the war aims. But like that I could buy that. But like, there's no plausible case to make that that the Houthis taking over the boat that they did and taking those taking those people, sorry, I don't know how many it was, but taking that crew and holding them hostage for 400 days was conducive to the war aim.
Likewise for hostages, kidnapped and apprehended on October 7th.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can. Well. So some yes, some no. I mean, you can take prisoners of war, but I think they were also hostages. But that's a different. That's a more murky territory, because there actually is some leverage you have by having hostages. Now that is a war.
Well, that doesn't matter. You can't factor in war crimes as part of your calculation for proportionality or whatever. That's not. Yeah.
That taking hostages is a war crime, and yes. Soldiers can also be hostages, by the way. The status of being a prisoner of war doesn't preclude the status of hostages. It's third-party compulsion that makes someone over and above a prisoner of war that's a hostage.
This sounds like international law, Avi.
Yes, it does. I'm not saying, it does.
You're a great skeptic.
I have no problem. Wait. Because I have no problem using the definitions as they're standardly defined in IHL. Like, I have no problem. Like, my criticism, my issues with international law doesn't preclude me from recognizing that certain terms are standardly used a certain way in international because of international law.
But am I wrong in saying that you're following some of the prescriptions of the rules of
war?
Oh yeah,
nor is it my view that every single prescription of international law should be not followed.
He likes the scripture, but not the priests.
But not the war progression principles. So for example,
go ahead.
Invasion of Venezuela.
Oh no, not the war of aggression principle. There are some cases where war of aggression is probably the right thing to do. But anyway, to the point, like minimally, I may not have a full fleshed out theory of like, when is there exoneration of rabid anti-Zionism, as long as, how much do you have to recognize and condemn the terrorists? There are people, I'm minimally talking about the people who essentially just try to at every step not condemn at all, and to justify and to sweep, and when it's not expected, when it's not reasonably expected, like the example I gave. There's no reasonable case to make by any reasonable person to think that the Houthis kidnapping people for 400 days or whatever on that ship, that non-Israeli ship, was conducive to their cause. It was harmful to the cause of anything.
It's like, because the broader question is like, sorry, just to clarify.
Let me just finish. That should be condemned as rabid anti-Zionism.
Terrorism apologia, condemn
or condemn it. Okay, or condemn it is fine. Condemn it if it's not clear that it's I think it should. But yeah, condemn it as supporting terrorism. You should.
I'm with that.
But the fact is that it is motivated by an excessive and like unjustifiable or just like a completely irrational hatred of the particular national group, right? Of Israel. Like that's why these groups are given all their passes. That's why no one cares.
Index to them not committing a genocide, right?
No. If we're talking about rabid anti-Zionism, these people, for what?
Like, could you be anti-German by killing Germans or Russians around the world if you don't like their current war, if you didn't like Germans during World War II? Like,
and we're talking about people
doing it way before the war.
Yeah, we're talking about people who want Israel to be abolished.
I get that, but like on board some of their views regarding the conflict, and now make an explanation. So you said it's an irrational assessment of Israel. It's more than is necessary, and these are kind of like contingent on your outlook of the whole conflict. And I'm just like, I don't know.
No, you're not letting me. I don't think you're letting me express just like the weight of it, though. It's like we talk about like cutting your nose off to spite your face, or the idea idea of like hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's the fact that these groups do more damage to themselves and to the Arab world than they ever will to Israel, and people still support it because apparently all of that other shit is just kind of worth it as long as they throw a few rockets at Israel in their spare time. Like that's kind of the bit where I think like you have to hate a country or a group so much to be willing to give those passes. We know, for example, that people like Hasan and these commentators, they know what Hezbollah did in Syria. They know that Hezbollah helped Assad, and they know that more civilians died there than have died in the Gaza war. They just don't care because Hezbollah gets a pass because they say fuck Israel and they lob rockets at Israel, and occasionally they hit some fucking farms. Like that's why it's like rabid and why it's like to me like a bigoted level of hatred. But, yeah.
See, I don't understand because like is rabid indexed to it being irrational, or is rabid indexed to the kind of violence apologia and violence encouragement? That because
yeah. So without having a, I think we could find common ground on this. Without having a all the list of necessary and sufficient conditions of what goes into rabid. At minimum, the sort of thing that someone would recognize rabid Zionism from people like Ben Gvir and not just anti-Arab bigotry, there should be consistent standards there. There should be like, so if the issue is irrationality, irrational violence, well, they don't have a problem recognizing Ben Gvir's irrational violence, but they do have if they do have a problem recognizing the same sort of conditions of irrationality for their case, for anti-Zionism, that's a problem. So wherever that bar is for anyone, because that's at minimum it should be consistent. At minimum, if you're able to recognize rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism, for a terrorist, for settler violence apologia, for whether it be for settler violence apologia, or whether it be for the irrationality of how it's not really helping their cause, whether it be for any of that, if you're able to be consistent about it. Yeah.
You might not shy away from this.
Wait, hold on. Before you ask me, do we agree on that at least?
I would apply whatever standard of toxic ideology consistently across ideology the same way that I would MAGA, and so
yeah, so that's
I don't have a problem with that. I guess yes, that is a yes. Yeah, I would apply the same standard. There's no reason to treat Zionism as an ideology in virtue of like you recognizing motivations or recognizing the harm, or I don't know the what's the term for this? Not terrorism, but it's the kind of terrorism. Again, my brain is turned off. We've done this so long, where it's you're getting people to do terrorism. Someone in the chat, you'll know what it is. I have no problem
inciting terrorism.
Question for you though,
terrorism?
In terms of how you would interpret a statement as rabid anti-Zionist. Someone says, I want the state of Israel abolished. I want one state with equal rights. Stochastic terrorism, by the way, is the term.
I'm going to give the same answer that you gave in terms of the definition versus evidence. So definitionally, not necessarily, is it evidence that it does increase my credence? Sure.
Got it. I feel like that's fine. I feel like we're trying to define a new, I'm sure that's not what's happening.
We're not trying, I'm not defining any new concept here. I'm just taking a type of ideology and saying, here is a rabid form of it. It doesn't have to be Zionism. It could be anything. It could be racism. There's types, just like you recognize, there's different varieties of racism. There's really rabid forms of it.
Sure.
Right? Wherever you draw the line, I'm just saying, wherever our line, I'm not trying to solve where the line is there. Like, that's not really the big thing for me. The big thing is wherever that line is, my issue is not that we have a problem recognizing a defined line for rabid anti-Zionism. My issue is when it's clearly above all of our lines. When it's clearly, but whatever that is, we don't have to solve it. We're to know that it is clear. We're not doing sorority paradox memes. Okay, we can.
No, I certainly am not doing that. No, I don't want to be heard doing that.
So my issue is wherever it is that is in the clear area gets funneled into anti-Semitism, and we should stop. And we should be sensitive.
On that I agree. On the consistency, I guess.
Yeah. So and because the other thing is So whether you think. If for whatever reason Hasan Piker, he doesn't meet the threshold of rabid anti-Zionist, which I think we can talk about that, and you just want to condemn him for terrorism, okay, fine, condemn him for his rabid terrorist support or whatever.
I have no. So yeah, on the shit about the boats, on some of the, I don't recall now this is here, specific comments made in the wake of October 7th. Yeah, I just would like.
Damn, he doesn't know. This is a telling thing as well, and it's just the deeper they go into the conversation, I feel like it's just more and more revealing. How are you just not aware of like any of these things, and then why are you taking such a strong position on them if you're just not aware of any of it? I just don't understand. Like, wouldn't it be better then to just not speak on it or not have strong opinions on it at all? Like that it is very sussy baka to come out with such strong opinions on things when you're so unaware of everything. Like it seems like you would just not do that,
Like, I have no problem calling out the thing specifically, or a version of ideology that is like too extreme or whatever. But I want you to apply this to the concept to like rabid anti-Trumpism. So I say things like Trump is a fascist stuff. We need to get the barbarians out of the White House. These are things I say, right? I say, these people. I've said before, quoting Sam Harris, Trump is scarcely human, just to describe his psychology, and basically, I just think he's so abnormal. And I'm like, these people need to be punished.
Yeah. So if there was a movement, if there was a movement as recognized called Trumpism, and it
would call me a rabid anti-Trumper.
No, I wouldn't, because you haven't done this. You haven't justified kidnapping people off the Trump vote of a Trump.
Yes,
news.
because I'm saying peacefully, patriotically, democratically, no violence. So
then I would just say that doesn't meet. Well, then I would just say that doesn't meet my threshold for rabid.
Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. Then I think I get it. So if someone is giving those caveats, if someone is indicating they don't agree with these crazy actions taken, you don't really have an issue except on the substance.
Wait, say that
Or
again.
if someone's giving the caveats and strongly hinting that they don't support this kind of thing outside of whatever the box is that we've created, that they don't support those kinds of actions, and that they want everything done through that tolerance window, you don't have an issue, except perhaps with their underlying opinion.
Yeah, perhaps, and perhaps with like, I have to think about if the justice of the cause matters at all. But yeah, but else, yeah, I'm not, again, no, yeah. So exactly, to answer that hypothetical, no, like you would not be a rabid anti-Trumper. You would just, if you're peacefully, patriotically protesting or whatever and using all that language. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about the sort of thing Ben-Gvir does with Zionism, that when people recognize he's a rabid Zionist. If you were going into Trump supporters' homes and burning down their homes or kicking them out of their homes and stuff, then I might call you a rabid anti-Trumper.
If I was to, well, here's something I agree with. I think we should nationalize Trump's wealth, all the ill-gotten gains. But because of how I propose I want to do it, is that enough?
Yeah, I don't see. No. I don't know. Once again, it's the same sort of thing with the Ben-Gvir stuff. It's the same sort of thing that everyone has that it's the same level of threshold that everyone else has no problem recognizing.
I'm an idiot, Avi.
I think the elephant in the room is that the elephant in the room is that America is just a more civilized nation, and there just isn't this broad movement against Trump that has the same level of insanity that you get with the rabid Zionists.
I heard it here. More civilized of a nation.
Yeah,
you would never accept.
Listen, I'm a Maronite. I'm racist against everyone. Okay, that's how that goes.
If you were to say, look, if you were to say we need to literally take Trump's family and kick them out on the streets, out of their homes, burn their house down, and some sort of thing like that.
Just kidding.
Wait a second. I'm fucking around, guys.
Oh, okay.
No, I hear you. Listen, I want everything to be done democratically. I'm not asking for people. I don't want people to be attacked or violently.
Yeah. So I don't have. Okay. So just because there's nothing at issue with what I'm saying in terms of like the prescription to recognize rabid anti-Zionism as rabid anti-Zionism and condemn it as such.
Okay.
Pisco, are you worried that are you just concerned that there are some things that might
the okay is an agreement there?
Difficult to cross the line?
No, I think I'm getting it. I need to marinate with the concept a little bit to understand it. That's all I'm saying. But like, what I'm concerned with, which I don't think is what you're doing, because Avi, I think that you've been very good faith this whole time, is like defining like an exceptionalism framework, an exceptionalist framework, and that's what I'm like. I know you're not doing that.
What do you mean exceptionalist? Yeah, no. You mean like, am I just doing this for Zionism? No.
Just for
correct.
Zionism.
No, the rabid forms of ideology. We don't have to use the word rabid if that's saying. We can call it extremist or whatever. Like we all recognize that for any ideology, there's an extremist version of it. And we should. And I'm noticing that. Of the extremist variety of anti-Zionism, there's a tendency to not call it out as such because it gets funneled as anti-Semitic instead.
Okay, all right, I understand. When you put the extremist thing, I think that tracks. Yeah, I need to marinate with it more, but I think I'm understanding what you're saying. You're not arguing right now in favor of Zionism. You're arguing for an equal standard. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I just need to understand it. I'm not trying to fight you on it, but
can I ask Avi some examples and just see if they fit into rabid anti-Zionism or just regular?
Do you understand this, Lord Box? Were you following the whole time?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, all right. I guess I'm an idiot.
Well. No, it's some of these questions are quite niche. Okay, so maybe the first one. I want one state with full right of return and equal voting rights from the river to the sea. Is that rabid anti-Zionism or just anti-Zionism?
I want one state with equal voting rights and from the river to the sea.
Yeah.
So this is the Pisco. I am going to give the Pisco answer here. So that raises my credence that there's a more extreme version of Zionism.
Okay. The view itself, you wouldn't say necessarily.
The view itself, definitional. Okay, yeah, definition. By definition, in all possible worlds, no. Not by definition in all possible worlds.
Okay.
But in real, but IRL.
Answer with such derision.
No, I'm not saying. No, I said that because you were smiling as I was preparing my answer.
I get it.
Believing that this is actually an opinion that someone has. Believing that Israel has no right to defend itself.
They're probably mad as fuck.
Yeah. I know Hasan does look at the. He actually looks into things. He actually looks into what he saw. He looked into that example, and he did not push back one bit. As Hasan Piker lied, completely misconstrued what he was saying, and gave the tactical walk back. Like that, to me, is a broader failure.
But can you also say, like, okay, you say that
anyone who thinks Hasan is an anti-Semite is an anti-Semite themselves. Base.
Oh no, the presenter. Yeah. So I'm a presenter, and I think I did a really good job.
No, not you, fucking sweeper. You sweeper, fuck.
No. So no, I agree. I think I agree. I think the presenters did a fairly poor job, and they should have done a better job.
Did you just skip ahead? Yep.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
We started with Andrew Wilson, and we're kind of ending on that note too.
There's not really anything to gain from it.
Wait, what are we ending on that? What are we ending on?
Left from calling out antisemitism.
Wait, what? No, how am I? Wait, am I ending on an end?
No. That just because there's some person who gets to the right result doesn't mean they're the best at presenting it, or the best at arguing it.
Sure. Yeah. I do. No, yeah. So So I agree. People have not presented the best case. People.
And I'm patting myself on the back too, We all share largely notions of anti-Semitism. My evidentiary burdens are not unreasonable, or my thresholds are not, in your mind, unreasonable. Are they, Avi?
I don't think so. You've convinced. I mean, this is evident. This is definitely evidence that they're not unreasonable. You were able to very clearly recognize that Hasan Piker is meaningfully anti-Semitic.
Yeah. So, like, what would you say to people who lied, smeared?
Oh my God, he's so ass pain.
Okay, I was a little.
And notice how he says people. Notice how he says people because he can't say my name because he's such a pussy. Holy shit. Oh my God.
Logic, bro-y, and a little bit like particular on my language on definitions. What do you have to say about that shit?
Well, I take this as evidence that they are mistaken about you.
Sick.
Good job.
Loner Box, how you doing? We got to get you back on Live and Learn one of these days, bro.
I don't think I ever even spoke to Pisco about this, by the way, because he immediately baby raged out. But